Yo, ChronoCrew Legends. Welcome back to another timeline shift. Last time we met Izuku Midoriya with the great sage in his corner, and now, things are about to escalate. Calculations, tactics, and heart all colliding in part 2. Before we dive in, thank you all for the continued support. You guys keep pushing these stories to the next level, and I appreciate every like, comment, and sub you drop. Make sure to like this video. 100 likes and part 3 drops into your timeline. Subscribe to become part of the ChronoCrew Legends and hit the bell so you never miss a new upload. It's about to get real. Let's ride the timeline. The Shinkansen bullet train sliced through the Japanese countryside, its sleek form a blur against the evening landscape. Inside, Izuku sat across from Sir Nighteye, reviewing intelligence reports on a secure tablet. The hero killer's pattern suggests he targets heroes he deems unworthy, Nighteye explained, adjusting his glasses. Primarily those who seek fame or financial gain rather than embody heroic ideals. Subject: Hero Killer Stain. Real name: Kaizo Makaguro. Quirk: Blood Curdle paralyzes victims by ingesting their blood. Duration varies by blood type. Kill count: 17 heroes. Injury count: 23. Methodology: bladed weapons, primarily katana and combat knives. His manifesto mentioned purging fake heroes, Izuku noted, scanning through case files. He believes only All Might represents true heroism. Nighteye's expression tightened. Yes, an extremist's interpretation, but one with concerning popularity online. Nearly 30% of anonymous commenters express some agreement with his philosophy, if not his methods. Izuku glanced at his phone again. Still no response from Ida. How much time do we have before we reach Hosu? Approximately 47 minutes, Nighteye replied. Mirio is already there, coordinating with local heroes. Ida Tenya communication status, no response for 1 hour, 32 minutes. Last known location, Manuel's Hero Agency, Hosu District. Probability of unsanctioned action, 92%. I'm concerned about Ida, Izuku admitted. His brother was more than just a hero to him. He was his inspiration, his reason for becoming a hero. Seeing him crippled by Stain. Revenge is a common but dangerous motivation, Nighteye observed. It clouds judgment, creates tunnel vision. In hero work, that's often fatal. The train speakers announced their approach to Hosu Station. As they gathered their equipment, Nighteye fixed Izuku with his penetrating gaze. You'll be operating under my direct supervision, Midoriya. This is not a simulation or a school exercise. Stain has killed pro heroes with decades of experience. I understand, sir. Your primary objective is locating your classmate and ensuring his safety. Confronting Stain is not your responsibility. Izuku nodded, though internally he was already formulating contingency plans. Mission parameters: locate Ida Tenya. Secondary: support surveillance operation. Tertiary: assist pro heroes if encounter with Stain occurs. Equipment check: hero costume operational, support items functional, communications linked to agency frequency. As they exited the station into the Hosu evening, the city seemed deceptively peaceful. Nighteye consulted his phone, where a map displayed various surveillance points established by his agency. Mirio is stationed here, he indicated. We'll establish our position at. A massive explosion suddenly rocked the district to their east, followed by screams and the distinctive sound of buildings collapsing. What was that? Izuku gasped, steadying himself against a lamppost. Nighteye's expression darkened. Something unexpected. The League of Villains, perhaps? Before they could react, Izuku's phone buzzed with an emergency notification, followed immediately by a text message from an unknown number. Help! Alley behind April 2nd, 10 Iku Street. Hero killer. Ida. Message origin: Todoroki Shoto. Location data embedded. Distance: 1.2 kilometers southeast. Terrain: urban density, narrow pathways. Sir, it's Todoroki. He's found Ida and the hero killer. Nighteye processed this information with remarkable speed. This changes our approach. The explosion likely means a coordinated attack, a distraction while Stain hunts. We need to split up, Izuku suggested urgently. You have the authority to coordinate with other pros about the larger attack. I can reach Ida and Todoroki faster with my quirk. For a moment, Nighteye seemed about to refuse, but then nodded sharply. Acceptable. But you are to assess and report only, do not engage Stain directly. Mirio is 7 minutes from that location. Wait for backup. Understood, Izuku replied, already channeling one for all through his body. Green lightning crackled around him as he launched himself upward, landing on a rooftop for better vantage. Optimal route calculated. Estimated arrival time: 3 minutes, 42 seconds at 15% output. Warning: urban navigation requires precision jumping to avoid civilian areas. Izuku bounded across rooftops, his mind racing. The timing of the explosion and Stain's attack couldn't be coincidental. The League of Villains and the hero killer operating in the same area on the same night? It suggested coordination or at least awareness. As he approached the location, Izuku slowed, dropping to street level and proceeding with caution. The narrow alleyway was exactly where his GPS indicated, shrouded in shadows despite the city's ambient light. Sound detection, metal striking metal. Labored breathing. 3 distinct human signatures. Blood scent detected. Izuku crept forward, peering around the corner. The scene that greeted him sent ice through his veins. Ida lay paralyzed on the ground, his armor damaged and blood pooling beneath him. A few meters away, Todoroki stood in a defensive stance, his right side generating ice that was rapidly melting in the confined space. Between them, a gaunt figure dressed in ragged bandages and wielding multiple blades circled like a predator, the hero killer, Stain. Fake heroes everywhere, Stain rasped. Children playing at justice without understanding sacrifice. Todoroki launched another ice attack, which Stain dodged with inhuman agility, bouncing off a wall and slashing downward. The heterochromatic teen barely managed to create an ice shield which shattered under Stain's blade. Analysis: Stain demonstrating enhanced agility, speed, and combat experience. Todoroki restricted from using fire in confined space due to risk to Ida. Ida appears paralyzed by blood curdle quirk. Intervention window closing rapidly. Izuku keyed his communicator. Sir Nighteye, I found them. Ida is down, Todoroki is engaging Stain. Request immediate backup. Mirio is en route. Do not engage. Repeat, do not egg. The rest of Nighteye's instruction was lost as Stain suddenly noticed Izuku's presence. His bloodshot eyes locking onto the new arrival. Another child, the hero killer hissed. Come to die for false ideals? Todoroki took advantage of the distraction to send a massive ice wave that forced Stain to leap backward. Midoriya. Ida's paralyzed. Stain's quirk activates when he ingests blood. I know, Izuku replied, stepping fully into the alley, one for all crackling around him at 15%. I've studied his case files. Combat analysis initiating. Environment, confined space, 3.2 meters wide. Verticality advantage available. Opponents, hero killer Stain, close combat specialist with blood-based paralysis quirk. Strategy, maintain distance, protect incapacitated allies, delay until reinforcements arrive. Both of you, leave. Ida shouted desperately from the ground. This is my fight. My responsibility. Shut up. Todoroki replied coldly, not taking his eyes off Stain. Real heroes don't let friends die for pride. Stain's mouth curved into a grotesque smile. Interesting. Perhaps not all aspiring heroes are corrupt. Let's test your resolve. He lunged forward with blinding speed, targeting Todoroki with a flurry of knife strikes. The dual quirk user created an ice wall, but Stain simply vaulted over it, his blade arcing down toward Todoroki's exposed shoulder. Todoroki, drop! Izuku shouted, already in motion. As Todoroki ducked, Izuku launched himself forward, channeling 20% of one for all into his legs. He intercepted Stain midair, delivering a calculated kick that connected with the villain's side, strong enough to knock him off course but not enough to cause serious injury. Impact assessment delivered 42% of maximum potential force. Target displaced 4.7 meters. No significant injury detected. Warning, subject demonstrating exceptional recovery speed. Indeed, Stain had already recovered, landing in a crouch and regarding Izuku with new interest. You moved like him, the hero killer observed. Like All Might. Power and precision together. Izuku positioned himself between Stain and his classmates. Todoroki, check on Ida. How long has he been paralyzed? About 10 minutes, Todoroki replied, edging toward their fallen friend while maintaining his combat stance. He tried to fight Stain alone. I need to avenge my brother, Ida choked out, tears of frustration streaming down his face. This isn't your fight. Vengeance, Stain spat. A selfish motivation unworthy of a true hero. Your brother at least fought to protect others. Warning. Stain shifting weight to dominant leg. Attack pattern indicates imminent strike with 87% probability. Recommended response. Defensive maneuver followed by controlled counter. Sage, authorized 25% for next exchange. Authorization granted for 6-second window. Stain attacked with renewed vigor, his blades a blur as he targeted Izuku's exposed areas. But with one for all enhancing his perception and movement, Izuku weaved through the assault, blocking when necessary and creating space when possible. You've been trained well, Stain acknowledged, backing off momentarily. But experience trumps talent. He flicked his wrist, sending a hidden knife flying toward the paralyzed Ida. Izuku reacted instantly, snatching the blade from the air with enhanced speed. Todoroki, can you create a barrier around Ida? Izuku called, never taking his eyes off Stain. On it, Todoroki confirmed, generating a protective ice enclosure around their immobilized classmate. Stain chuckled darkly. Protecting each other. Coordinating your quirks. Perhaps there's hope for the next generation after all. He suddenly whipped out a serrated blade, slashing it across his own palm. The sight confused Izuku until Stain flicked his hand, spraying blood droplets in a wide arc. Warning, biological projectile attack. Evade immediately. Izuku leaped backward, but one droplet caught his cheek. Before he could wipe it away, Stain's elongated tongue shot out, licking the air where Izuku had been standing a moment before. Too slow, Izuku murmured, grateful for Great Sage's warning. Midoriya, Todoroki called. I think Ida's regaining movement in his fingers. His paralysis might be wearing off. Quirk analysis update, blood curdle duration varies by blood type. Estimated remaining paralysis time for Ida Tenya, 2 to 4 minutes based on observed recovery progression. Keep him protected, Izuku instructed. Backup is on the way. Stain tilted his head, studying Izuku with disturbing intensity. You're different from the others. Your eyes calculate, measure, analyze. Yet you move to protect without hesitation. That's what heroes do, Izuku replied simply. No, Stain corrected, his voice dropping to a rasp. That's what true heroes do. The rest are imposters, parasites feeding off society's fear. He gestured toward the distant sounds of destruction from the League's attack. They create chaos for personal gain. I purge to restore balance. We are not the same. Subject revealing ideological framework. Potential psychological vulnerability, moral consistency. Exploitable dialogue path detected. If you truly believe in authentic heroism, Izuku challenged, why target Ingenium? He saved countless lives, prioritized civilians over fame. Something flickered in Stain's eyes. Doubt, perhaps, or reconsideration. All who profit from the hero system are complicit, he insisted, though his voice lacked its previous conviction. My brother is a true hero, Ida shouted suddenly, his voice strained as he fought against the remaining paralysis. He inspired others to serve, to protect. And you're just a murderer hiding behind philosophy. Stain's expression darkened. You understand nothing, child. He charged again, this time targeting Todoroki with a feint before spinning toward Izuku with his katana extended. Attack pattern recognized. Counter opportunity identified. Izuku channeled 25% of one for all throughout his body, meeting Stain's charge head-on. As the blade came toward him, he executed a perfect evasion maneuver, slipping inside Stain's guard. With calculated precision, he delivered a palm strike to the villain's solar plexus, followed by a sweeping kick that disrupted his balance. The hero killer staggered backward, visibly surprised by Izuku's technique. You fight like you've seen 1,000 battles, Stain observed, regaining his stance. Yet your movements have no wasted energy, no flashy displays. I don't fight to impress, Izuku replied. I fight to protect. A strange respect seemed to enter Stain's eyes. Perhaps one worthy successor exists after all. Before the exchange could continue, a blur of movement entered the alley, Mirio Tagata phasing through the wall behind Stain. Sorry I'm late, the third-year student announced cheerfully, solidifying as his fist connected with Stain's back. The hero killer twisted with remarkable reflexes, avoiding the worst of the impact, but found himself now facing opponents on two sides. Combat dynamic shift, numerical advantage improved to 3-2-1 with Mirio's arrival. Stain demonstrating first signs of fatigue. Recommended strategy, coordinated containment. La Million, Izuku acknowledged, using Mirio's hero name. Careful, he paralyzes with blood contact. Got it, Mirio replied, his perpetual smile never wavering. Sir Nighteye and the pros are handling the Nomu attack downtown. Our job is to contain this guy until they arrive. Nomu? Todoroki questioned sharply. The League of Villains is here too? 3 artificial humans like the one from USJ, Mirio confirmed. But less powerful according to reports. Stain's eyes narrowed at this information. Artificial humans? The League's methods grow more disgusting. Interesting. Subject displaying genuine disgust toward League of Villains methods. Potential ideological disconnect between supposed allies. Surrounded and with reinforcements approaching, Stain seemed to recognize his position was untenable. With a sudden movement, he threw several knives simultaneously at different targets, forcing everyone to defend or dodge. In that moment of distraction, the hero killer leaped upward, grabbing onto a fire escape and scaling it with inhuman agility. He's escaping, Todoroki shouted. No, Mirio countered. He's repositioning. More space, better visibility. Izuku was already moving, leaping onto the same fire escape with one for all, propelling him upward. I'll pursue. Todoroki, stay with Ida until he's fully recovered. Midoriya, wait. Mirio called, but Izuku was already ascending to the rooftop. Warning, pursuing alone contradicts direct orders from Sir Nighteye. However, tactical window closing rapidly. Decision required. I'm not engaging, Izuku muttered to himself. Just maintaining visual contact. As he reached the rooftop, Izuku found Stain standing at its edge, silhouetted against the Hosu skyline. In the distance, smoke rose from multiple locations where the Nomu were wreaking havoc. Look at it, Stain said without turning. The society we've built. So fragile, so dependent on false heroes. Real heroes are responding right now, Izuku countered, maintaining a safe distance, putting themselves at risk to save others. Stain finally turned, his eyes gleaming in the moonlight. You truly believe, don't you? Not in the system, but in the ideal. I do. Then tell me, child, why do you fight? Fame? Fortune? Or something else? The question wasn't a taunt, Izuku realized. It was a genuine inquiry, perhaps even a test. Response analysis, subject testing, ideological alignment. Truthful answer most effective. I fight because I can, Izuku replied simply. Because when someone needs saving and I have the power to help, any other choice would be wrong. Stain studied him for a long moment, then nodded slightly. All Might says the same. Perhaps his spirit lives on, even as his power fades. Before Izuku could respond to this disturbing insight, the rooftop access door burst open. Mirio emerged, followed by several pro-heroes including Manuel, Ida's internship mentor. Hero killer Stain, Manuel announced, you're surrounded. Surrender now. Stain's gaze never left Izuku. Remember this moment, young hero. When the false system finally collapses, stand firm in your conviction. With shocking speed, the hero killer suddenly charged, not toward the heroes, but past them, leaping off the opposite side of the building. Trajectory analysis, subject aiming for adjacent rooftop. Escape probability, 82% unless intercepted. Stop him, Manuel shouted. Izuku moved instinctively, channeling 25% of one for all into his legs as he launched himself in pursuit. He intercepted Stain mid-jump, tackling him in the air and disrupting his trajectory. They crashed onto a lower rooftop, rolling with the impact. Stain recovered first, a blade suddenly at Izuku's throat. You could have let me go, the hero killer observed curiously. That's not what heroes do, Izuku replied, feeling the cold metal against his skin. For a heartbeat that stretched eternally, Stain seemed to consider ending Izuku's life. Then, inexplicably, he withdrew the blade. Not today, he murmured. Your conviction has earned you that much. Before Izuku could react, a massive impact shook the building beneath them. A Nomu, grotesque and muscle-bound with exposed brain tissue, had crashed into the street below, creating a crater in the asphalt. The distraction was all Stain needed. He kicked Izuku away and sprinted toward the edge of the roof, clearly intending to use the chaos to escape. What happened next occurred so quickly that even Great Sage could barely process it in real time. The Nomu, apparently drawn by the movement above, launched itself upward toward the fleeing Stain. The hero killer turned, blades ready, but the creature's inhuman speed caught even him off guard. As the Nomu's massive hand reached for him, Stain slashed furiously, blood spraying from the creature's wounds. With incredible agility, he vaulted over the Nomu, plunging his katana deep into its exposed brain. The artificial human convulsed, then went still, toppling from the rooftop to crash into the street below. Stain landed in a crouch, breathing heavily, his bandages now soaked with the Nomu's blood. He turned toward Izuku, who had regained his footing. See the abomination they've created, Stain spat. This is what your society permits. This is why it must be purged. Subject displaying genuine ideological opposition to Nomu creation. Connection to League of Villains appears antagonistic rather than collaborative. Before their confrontation could continue, multiple heroes converged on the rooftop. Mirio, Manuel, and now Gran Torino, a semi-retired hero Izuku recognized from his studies. Stain surveyed his opponents, calculation evident in his bloodshot eyes. Then, with resigned determination, he straightened to his full height. Hear me, false heroes, he proclaimed, his voice carrying across the now silent street. The disease eating at hero society cannot be ignored forever. I am merely the first symptom. The reckoning will come. What happened next would be debated in hero circles for years. Stain took a step forward, emanating such overwhelming bloodlust that everyone, heroes and civilians alike, froze in place, paralyzed not by his quirk but by sheer presence. In that moment of collective paralysis, he might have escaped. Instead, he collapsed, a small dart protruding from his neck. Sir Nighteye stepped onto the rooftop, his tranquilizer gun still raised. Theatrics won't save you from justice, hero killer. As the pro-heroes moved to secure the unconscious villain, Izuku felt a complex mix of emotions wash over him. Relief, exhaustion, and something like respect for Stain's unwavering, if twisted, conviction. Analysis complete. Hero killer Stain, ideological extremist with legitimate criticism of hero society's commercialization corrupted by trauma and murderous methodology. Psychological profile, true believer rather than sadist or opportunist. Midoriya. Izuku turned to find Sir Nighteye regarding him with that penetrating gaze. I believe I instructed you not to engage, the former sidekick stated coldly. Yes, sir. I apologize for disobeying orders. Nighteye adjusted his glasses. Your actions were reckless, impulsive, and contrary to direct instruction. Izuku braced himself for disciplinary action. They were also, Nighteye continued, his tone softening slightly, precisely what the situation required. Sometimes calculated risk trumps cautious procedure. Relief flooded through Izuku. Thank you, sir. Don't misunderstand, Nighteye warned. This isn't carte blanche for future disobedience. But I recognize that your analysis of the situation was sound, even if your methods were unorthodox. As they descended from the rooftop, they found Ida waiting below, fully recovered from his paralysis but bearing both physical and emotional wounds. Midoriya, he began, his voice thick with shame. I need to apologize. My actions were unbecoming of a hero and put you all in danger. Izuku placed a hand on his friend's shoulder. You were in pain, Tenya, but now you know, revenge doesn't heal wounds, it only creates new ones. Ida nodded solemnly. I will learn from this. I promise. The aftermath was a blur of police statements, medical examinations, and media containment. By dawn, the official story had been established. The hero killer had been captured through the coordinated efforts of pro-heroes, with UA students providing support under supervision. Stain's connection, or lack thereof, to the League of Villains remained unclear. In a quiet moment at the hospital where they were being checked for injuries, Todoroki approached Izuku. That was impressive analysis during the fight, he observed. You knew his quirks, mechanics, his fighting style, even how to counter his attacks. Caution, subject demonstrating interest in your analytical capabilities. Recommend deflection while maintaining partial truth. I study hero and villain cases extensively, Izuku explained. It's a habit I've had since childhood. Todoroki seemed unconvinced. It's more than that. During our sports festival match, you analyzed my quirk limitations in real time. With Stain, you predicted movements before they happened. Enhanced perception is part of my quirk, Izuku offered, which wasn't entirely untrue. One for All did enhance his senses even if Great Sage was the true analytical engine. After a thoughtful pause, Todoroki nodded. Whatever it is, I'm glad you were there. None of us would have survived alone. Later that evening, in the privacy of his hospital room, Izuku received an unexpected visitor, All Might in his true form, looking more gaunt than usual. Young Midoriya, he greeted, closing the door softly behind him. I came as soon as I heard. All Might, Izuku acknowledged, sitting up straighter. I'm sorry if I caused trouble. The symbol of peace shook his head, dropping heavily into the visitor's chair. On the contrary, your actions, while technically against protocol, likely saved lives. Nighteye was particularly impressed. High praise coming from him. Subject, Yagi Tashinori. Fatigue indicators at concerning levels. Respiratory rate elevated. Probable cause, overexertion of remaining one for all embers. You shouldn't have transformed today, Izuku observed worriedly. You're pushing your limits too far. All Might sighed. The Nomu attack required it. I couldn't stand by while civilians were in danger. How long did you maintain your muscle form? Just under 4 minutes, All Might admitted. My time limit is shrinking, young Midoriya. Soon, it will be measured in seconds, not minutes. The implications hung heavy in the air between them. All Might's era was ending faster than either had anticipated. There's something else, All Might continued, his sunken eyes serious. Stain's capture is significant, but the timing of the Nomu attack suggests coordination with the League of Villains. Actually, Izuku countered. I don't think they were working together. Stain seemed disgusted by the Nomu, called them abominations. He even killed one that attacked him. All Might's eyebrows rose. Interesting. That contradicts our initial theory. Hypothesis: League of Villains potentially attempting to recruit Stain by staging concurrent attack, not actual collaboration. Probability: 76% based on observed behavior patterns. I think the League might have been trying to associate themselves with Stain's ideology, Izuku suggested. His message has been gaining traction online. They could be trying to capitalize on his notoriety. All Might nodded thoughtfully. Astute observation. I'll share this with the investigation team. He leaned forward, his expression grave. The League is evolving, young Midoriya. This coordinated attack, the creation of multiple Nomu, They're growing bolder, more strategic. And behind them stands All for One, Izuku concluded quietly. Yes, my ancient enemy. He's making his move, building his forces. All Might clenched his fist. Which means we must accelerate your training. The time for preparation is growing short. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on Izuku's shoulders. He was not just training to become a hero anymore, he was preparing to inherit a generations-old conflict, to stand against a villain whose power and cunning had nearly killed the symbol of peace himself. Priority update, training regimen optimization required. Current mastery of One for All, approximately 25% sustainable output. Estimated time to 50% mastery at current progression rate, 5.2 months. Too slow, I need to get stronger, faster, Izuku affirmed. Great Sage can help optimize my training, but I'll need more practical experience too. All Might nodded. We'll arrange it. Nighteye has already requested to extend your internship through the summer break. As All Might departed, leaving Izuku alone with his thoughts, he found himself reflecting on Stain's words on the rooftop. When the false system finally collapses, stand firm in your conviction. The hero killer had been wrong in his methods, but his criticism of hero society contained uncomfortable truths that couldn't be dismissed entirely. The commercialization of heroism, the focus on popularity over service, these were real issues that Izuku would need to confront as the future symbol of peace. New parameter integrated into future symbol of peace protocol. Address systemic flaws in hero society while maintaining public trust and security. Complexity level, extreme. Izuku gazed out the hospital window at the Hosu skyline, still scarred from the day's battles. The path ahead was becoming clearer, yet paradoxically more complex. It wasn't enough to simply inherit All Might's power or position. He would need to forge his own way, combining calculated precision with unwavering idealism. I am here, he whispered to the night, not as a declaration of arrival, but as a promise of commitment to the difficult journey ahead. The media storm following Stain's capture was unprecedented. Despite official attempts to minimize UA students' involvement, anonymous sources leaked details of the confrontation, transforming Izuku, Todoroki, and Ida into reluctant celebrities overnight. Stain, stopped by students, blared the headline of the Hero Network as Izuku scrolled through his phone in the hospital's waiting area. The article featured grainy security camera images of their battle, accompanied by wild speculation about their quirks and training. Media analysis: 78% positive coverage, 22% concerned about student endangerment. Hero Network's coverage particularly sensationalized, with 43% factual inaccuracies. There you are, problem child. Izuku looked up to find Aizawa standing before him, looking even more exhausted than usual. Sensei, Izuku acknowledged, rising to his feet. I can explain. Save it. Aizawa cut him off. I've read the official reports. You and your classmates acted under pro-hero supervision against an unexpected threat. That's the story, and we're all sticking to it. His bloodshot eyes narrowed. The alternative would be expulsion for unauthorized quirk use in a combat situation, which none of us wants. Subject displaying subtle approval beneath disciplinary facade. Tone indicates concern rather than actual anger. I understand, Izuku replied. Thank you for protecting us. Aizawa sighed, running a hand through his disheveled hair. The principal is dealing with the press and the Hero Commission. Your discharge papers are ready. A car is waiting to take you back to the dorms. As they walked toward the exit, Aizawa added, for what it's worth, the footage I saw was impressive. Your combat analysis has improved significantly. Coming from Aizawa, this qualified as effusive praise. There's something else, the underground hero continued. All Might requested special permission for you to continue your internship with Sir Nighteye through summer break. I approved it with conditions. Conditions? Weekly reports, no solo patrols, and you maintain your class standing despite the extra work. Aizawa fixed him with a stern look. Don't make me regret this exception, Midoriya. I won't, Sensei. The drive back to UA was quiet, giving Izuku time to process everything that had happened. The encounter with Stain had been enlightening in unexpected ways. The hero killer's twisted ideology contained kernels of truth about hero society's flaws, commercialization, fame-seeking, the dilution of heroic ideals. Analysis update: Hero society structural critique valid despite Stain's extremist methods. Potential reform approaches: 1. Internal system reorganization prioritizing service over celebrity. 2. Public education campaign regarding heroic ideals. 3. Compensation structure revision to reward civilian safety metrics over merchandise sales. When Izuku arrived at the dormitory, he found his classmates gathered in the common area, a makeshift welcome back banner hanging crookedly from the ceiling. DKU. Uraraka was the first to reach him, her expression a mixture of relief and exasperation. We were so worried. The news has been showing that fight on repeat. Midoriya, my man, Kirishima exclaimed, giving him a firm, if painful, pat on the shoulder. Taking down the hero killer. So manly, how badly were you injured? Yayarosa asked with concern. The footage looked quite violent. Karo, we're just glad you're okay, Azui added. Izuku felt momentarily overwhelmed by their attention. I'm fine, really. And I didn't take down Stain alone. Todoroki and Ida were there too. Speaking of which, Kaminari interjected, where are they? Todoroki is returning tomorrow, Izuku explained. Ida needed more time with his family. He's visiting his brother. The conversation continued as classmates peppered him with questions about the encounter. Izuku provided carefully edited responses, maintaining the official narrative while sharing genuine insights about Stain's fighting style and ideology. Only Bakugo remained silent throughout, observing from the periphery with an unreadable expression. Subject, Bakugo Katsuki. Behavior pattern deviating from baseline. Typical reaction to pure achievement, vocal dismissal, or competitive declaration. Current response, analytical observation. Interesting development. Later that evening, as most students retired to their rooms, Izuku found himself alone in the kitchen preparing tea. The quiet was welcome after the day's sensory overload. Oi, Deku. Izuku turned to find Bakugo leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed. Kakin, he acknowledged. Need something? Bakugo approached, his movements deliberate. For once, his expression wasn't locked in its perpetual scowl but instead showed something like reluctant respect. That fight with Stain, he began, uncharacteristically hesitant. The news keeps showing clips. Your movements, they're different from the sports festival. Caution, subject demonstrating unusually perceptive observation. Recommend partial honesty. I've been training differently, Izuku replied carefully. Sir Nighteye's agency focuses on prediction and precision. Bullshit, Bakugo countered, though without his usual heat. You've always fought calculated, but this was different. You were reading his movements before he made them. When Izuku didn't immediately respond, Bakugo continued, that day at the beach when All Might was testing you. You said you were quirkless before. What did you mean? The question hung between them, loaded with years of shared history and misconceptions. Exactly what I said, Izuku answered finally. I was quirkless until recently. My power manifested late, very late. The analysis was always there, but the strength came after. Bakugo's eyes narrowed, processing this information. So all those years when I thought you were looking down on me, I wasn't, Izuku stated simply. I was looking up to you. Always, something shifted in Bakugo's expression, a realization, perhaps, or the crumbling of a long-held belief. TCH, whatever. He turned to leave, then paused. Don't get killed by some third-rate villain. I'm the only one who gets to beat you. Coming from Bakugo, this qualified as heartfelt concern. Wouldn't dream of it, Kakin. After Bakugo departed, Izuku smiled slightly. Their relationship was evolving, slowly but surely, from antagonism towards something resembling mutual respect. Interpersonal development noted, Bakugo Katsuki demonstrating significant character growth. Childhood misconceptions being reevaluated. Potential ally rather than obstacle. The next few days passed in a blur of media attention and academic catch-up. Izuku divided his time between classes, core training with All Might, and preparation for his extended internship with Sir Nighteye. All Might pushed him harder than ever, focusing on increasing his sustainable percentage of 1 for all. 25% consistently is good, the symbol of peace acknowledged during one particularly grueling session. But we need to aim for 40% by summer's end. Izuku wiped sweat from his brow, breathing heavily. That's a significant jump in a short time frame. Necessity drives progress, young Midoriya. The League of Villains won't wait for your convenient development timeline. Training projection, 40% sustainable output by summer's end requires 37% increase in current training intensity. Physical risk assessment, moderate to high without optimization. Sage, run simulation for optimized training protocol. Simulation complete. Recommended approach. Alternating high-intensity focused application with precision control exercises. Supplementary weight training to strengthen connective tissue. Nutritional adjustments to support accelerated muscle development and recovery. I can do it, Izuku affirmed. But I'll need to modify my approach. Over the next week, he implemented Great Sage's optimized training protocol, carefully balancing intensity with recovery. The results were promising. By the week's end, he could maintain 27% output for nearly 3 minutes without strain. The weekend before his extended internship began, Izuku received an unexpected visitor to the dorms, Sir Nighteye himself, impeccably dressed as always. Midoriya, the former sidekick, greeted formally. Walk with me. They strolled through UA's campus, now quiet with most students gone for the weekend. Your performance against Stain was imperfect but impressive, Nighteye began. particularly your real-time analysis of his combat patterns. Thank you, sir. However, Nighteye continued, adjusting his glasses, there was a moment when you hesitated when Stain held a blade to your throat on that rooftop. Why? The question caught Izuku off guard. I was calculating my options. No, Nighteye countered. You were listening, considering his words. Why? Subject testing your ideological fortitude. Honest response advised, because some of what he said made sense, Izuku admitted. Not his methods, never those, but his critique of hero society's commercialization, the emphasis on image over substance. Nighteye nodded slowly. A dangerous perspective to sympathize with. Understanding isn't sympathizing, Izuku clarified. We can acknowledge systemic flaws while rejecting violent extremism. This earned him a rare, slight smile from the usually stoic hero. Well articulated. This is precisely why I requested your extended internship. They reached a secluded bench overlooking the training grounds. Nighteye sat, gesturing for Izuku to join him. The hero killer's capture has created unexpected ripples, Nighteye explained. His manifesto, leaked online, has resonated with a significant portion of the population. Meanwhile, the League of Villains is attempting to align themselves with his ideology while pursuing their own agenda. Recruitment, Izuku deduced. They're using Stain's popularity to attract new members. Precisely. Our intelligence suggests an influx of villains inspired by Stain but lacking his twisted moral code. Just violence without principle. Strategic implication. League of Villains leveraging ideological movement while discarding its ethical constraints. Dangerous combination of legitimate grievance with destructive methodology. During your extended internship, Nighteye continued, you'll be assisting me with a long-term investigation into one of these new recruits, a Yakuza-connected villain operating under the code name Overhaul. I've read about recent Yakuza activity, Izuku noted. I thought they were largely suppressed by the rise of heroes. They were, but some factions are attempting to reassert themselves by exploiting the growing anti-hero sentiment. Nighteye's expression darkened. This particular group has been experimenting with quirk-enhancing drugs. The implications are concerning. The conversation was interrupted by Izuku's phone, a message from Recovery Girl requesting his presence at the infirmary. We'll discuss details when you begin officially next week, Nighteye concluded, rising. In the meantime, I suggest reviewing case files on quirk modification research and its legal history. Izuku found Recovery Girl in her office, organizing medical supplies with practiced efficiency. Ah, Midoriya, thank you for coming, she greeted. I need to discuss your recent medical scan results. Medical discussion alert. Potential health concern identified. Is something wrong? Izuku asked, suddenly concerned. Recovery Girl pulled up a holographic display showing comparative scans of his muscular and skeletal systems. Not wrong precisely, but noteworthy, she clarified. Your body is adapting to one for all faster than anticipated. Look here, she pointed to highlighted areas of his musculature. The quirk's energy is being integrated into your cellular structure at an accelerated rate. Is that dangerous? Not inherently, but it requires monitoring. Your training intensity has increased recently, yes. Izuku nodded. All Might wants me to reach 40% by summer's end. Recovery Girl made a disapproving noise. Typical Tashinori, pushing too hard. However, your body is responding remarkably well. The microtears in your muscle tissue are healing at nearly twice the expected rate. She adjusted the display to show his bone density. More interesting is this. Your skeletal structure is reinforcing itself preemptively, strengthening in anticipation of greater strain. Physiological adaptation analysis, one for all integration progressing 43% faster than baseline projection. Quirk factor appears to be modifying cellular regeneration capabilities. Fascinating development. That's not normal, is it? Izuku questioned. For one for all users? Tashinori didn't experience anything similar. Recovery Girl studied him thoughtfully. I wonder if it's the combination with your analytical quirk. Perhaps your body is learning from each application of power, adapting more efficiently than previous users. This was dangerously close to revealing Great Sage's existence, something Izuku had kept strictly private. Maybe he deflected. What does this mean for my training? It means we can be more aggressive with your regimen, but with careful monitoring. She handed him a small device resembling a wristwatch. This will track your biometric data and alert me if anything concerning develops. As Izuku left the infirmary, his mind raced with implications. One for All was adapting to him faster than expected, perhaps even differently than it had for previous users. Could this be Great Sage's influence, optimizing his body's response to the power? Hypothesis: Great Sage's analytical capabilities may be affecting One for All's integration at the cellular level. Insufficient data for confirmation, but correlation appears strong. The days before his extended internship passed quickly. Izuku divided his time between training, research on quirk enhancement drugs, and brief moments with his classmates, particularly Uraraka, who seemed determined to ensure he didn't work himself to death before summer even began. "You're pushing too hard, Deku," she insisted during one of their study sessions. "Everyone's noticed. There's a lot at stake," he replied, not looking up from his notes on Yakuza history. "There always will be," she countered, gently but firmly closing his notebook. "But you won't be able to save anyone if you collapse from exhaustion." Subject: Uraraka Achiko. Concern genuine. Emotional investment apparent in micro-expressions and vocal patterns. Recommendation: acknowledge legitimate point. Izuku sighed, leaning back in his chair. "You're right. I've been tunnel visioning again." "Again? You mean always?" she teased, her smile returning. "Remember what you told Ida after the stain incident? About balance and perspective. Using my own words against me." "Clever." Her expression softened. "Just promise you'll take care of yourself during this internship. Sir Nighteye seems intense." "He is," Izuku confirmed. "But he's also brilliant. I can learn so much from him." Uraraka studied him for a moment. "You've changed, you know, since the sports festival. More confident, more focused. Sometimes I hardly recognize the nervous boy I met at the entrance exam." The observation was perceptive, perhaps too perceptive. Interpersonal alert. Subject: noting personality evolution. Recommend acknowledging change while attributing to natural growth. Experience changes people, Izuku replied carefully. The villain attacks, the internships, they force you to adapt or fall behind. "Well, don't adapt too much," she said, her voice lightening. "I like that nervous boy too." The comment carried a weight that neither of them seemed ready to address directly. Instead, they returned to their studies, the moment of vulnerability passing into comfortable companionship. The night before his internship began, Izuku received a rare phone call from All Might. "Young Midoriya," his mentor greeted, his voice sounding particularly strained. "I wanted to speak with you before tomorrow. Is everything all right, All Might?" A heavy sigh came through the line. "The doctor's latest results weren't promising. My time limit is now under 3 minutes." Izuku's grip tightened on the phone. "How long until? Until I can no longer transform? At this rate, perhaps a few months." All Might's voice was resigned but determined, which makes your accelerated training all the more critical. Time frame update. Symbol of peace functionality approximately 3 to 4 months remaining. Public announcement preparations likely imminent. Societal impact projection, significant destabilization without adequate successor in place. "I understand," Izuku replied, the weight of responsibility settling more firmly on his shoulders. "I won't let you down." "I know you won't." A pause, then there's something else. Nighteye's investigation into this overhaul character, it may connect to All for One. Izuku's breath caught. "How so?" "Quirk enhancement drugs don't appear spontaneously. The research, the resources required, they suggest backing from someone with extensive knowledge of quirk science, and no one understands quirks better than someone who can steal and bestow them," Izuku concluded. "Exactly. Be vigilant, young Midoriya. This internship may put you closer to our ultimate enemy than we anticipated." After the call ended, Izuku stood at his window, gazing out at the UA campus bathed in moonlight. The path ahead was becoming increasingly complex, a web of villains, ideology, and social change with All for One lurking at its center. Mission parameters expanding beyond initial hero training scope. Multiple threat vectors converging. League of Villains, Yakuza Resurgence, Stain Ideological Movement, All for One Shadow Operations. Comprehensive strategic approach required. "Sage," he murmured, "run complete threat assessment and prioritization. Analysis complete. Primary threat, All for One and associated operations. Secondary, League of Villains expansion and recruitment. Tertiary, quirk enhancement drug development and distribution. Quaternary, societal destabilization following All Might's retirement." And our response strategy? Recommended approach: 1. Continue accelerated 1 for all mastery. 2. Gather intelligence on all threat vectors through Nighteye internship. 3. Develop contingency plans for All Might's public retirement. 4. Establish reliable hero network among trusted UA peers. Izuku nodded to himself. The challenge was enormous but not insurmountable with proper planning and execution. One step at a time, beginning with tomorrow's internship. He packed the last of his equipment, checking each item methodically: costume, notebooks, support items, emergency supplies. As he placed his hero license, provisional but recently upgraded with additional privileges due to the stain incident, in its protective case, his eyes lingered on the name printed there. Deku, no longer an insult but a promise to himself, to All Might, to society. He would rise to meet these challenges, not through raw power alone, but through the perfect synthesis of strength and strategy that made him unique among heroes. "I am here," he whispered to the quiet room. And I'm ready. The morning brought clear skies and renewed purpose as Izuku made his way to Sir Nighteye's agency, prepared to begin the next chapter in his journey toward becoming the symbol of peace. A journey that would test not just his growing power, but the analytical mind that set him apart from all previous one for all users. The game was changing. The stakes were rising. And Izuku Midoriya, guided by great sage and empowered by one for all, was determined to stay one step ahead. Sir Nighteye's agency looked different in the early morning light. Less imposing, more purposeful. As Izuku entered the building, security protocols had been enhanced since his last visit, with biometric scanners and quirk-dampening fields at every entrance. Identification and purpose requested the security officer, a stern-faced woman with scaled skin. Izuku Midoriya. Extended internship with Sir Nighteye. Security measures increased by approximately 37% since last visit. Recent incidents likely prompted protocol enhancement. After clearing security, Izuku was escorted to a conference room where he found not just Sir Nighteye, but also Mirio Togata and a green-haired girl he didn't recognize. Midoriya, punctual as expected, Nighteye acknowledged, gesturing to an empty seat. You know Mirio. This is Hada Nijire, another of UA's big three. Hey, Midoriya. Nijire greeted enthusiastically, leaning forward with wide, curious eyes. Is it true you fought the hero killer? How scary was he? Did his eyes really glow red? Can you really use your quirk at different percentages? Why is your hair so green? The rapid-fire questions came without pause for breath, leaving Izuku momentarily overwhelmed. Subject: Hada Nijire. Quirk: wave motion converts vitality into energy waves. Behavioral pattern indicates high-energy personality with intense curiosity. Recommended response: concise answers to prevent further question cascades. Yes, very, sometimes, yes, and genetics, Izuku replied methodically, addressing each question in sequence. Mirio laughed. Nice. You handled the Nijire flood better than most first-timers. Sir Nighteye cleared his throat, immediately focusing everyone's attention. Let's begin. This operation has been classified Level 4 by the Hero Commission, meaning full disclosure is limited to those in this room. He activated a holographic display showing a gaunt man with sharp features and a plague doctor-style mask. Kai Chisaki, also known as Overhaul, current leader of the Shai Hasaikai, a Yakuza family that has operated in the shadows for generations. His quirk allows him to disassemble and reassemble matter through touch. Izuku studied the image, committing every detail to memory while Great Sage processed the information. Subject: Kai Chisaki/Overhaul. Quirk analysis: molecular manipulation requiring direct contact. Potential applications: healing, destruction, reconstruction, possible quirk interaction. Threat level: extreme. 3 months ago, Nighteye continued, we began tracking unusual drug-related incidents across Muzutafu. Individuals temporarily losing their quirks, others experiencing dangerous power amplification. Analysis of blood samples revealed a common compound, one that directly affects the quirk factor at a genetic level. The display shifted to chemical formulas and molecular structures. The Shai Hasaikai appears to be manufacturing 2 distinct products: Trigger, which temporarily boosts quirk power but causes severe side effects, and Erasure, which temporarily suppresses quirk function entirely. But how? Nijire interjected, uncharacteristically serious. Quirk-affecting drugs have been theoretical for decades. The genetic complexity always made practical application impossible. That, Nighteye replied grimly, is what we need to discover. Our intelligence suggests they've made a breakthrough, one that could destabilize hero society if mass-produced. He turned to Izuku. This is where you come in, Midoriya. Your analytical capabilities make you ideal for intelligence gathering. You'll be working primarily with Mirio, conducting surveillance and building a comprehensive profile of their operation. Mission parameters: intelligence gathering on illegal quirk drug operation. Primary focus: manufacturing process, distribution network, leadership structure. Operational constraints: surveillance only, minimal engagement, evidence collection prioritized over confrontation. Understood, Izuku nodded. When do we begin? Today, Nighteye replied. But first, there's something you should know. The air in the room seemed to thicken with tension. We have reason to believe the Shai Hasaikai has acquired a unique resource for their drug production. A person, not a chemical. Izuku's brow furrowed. A person? You mean someone with a quirk that facilitates drug creation? Precisely. Our sources indicate they're holding a young girl whose quirk allows for the manipulation of biological states. We believe she's being harvested to produce these compounds. Horror crept through Izuku's veins at the implication. They're using a child to make drugs? The evidence points that way, Nighteye confirmed, his typically stoic expression hardening. which adds a rescue component to our mission. However, his gaze sharpened. We must proceed methodically. Rushing in without sufficient intelligence would endanger both the operation and the girl. The briefing continued with operational details, surveillance points, communication protocols, cover identities. Throughout, Izuku's mind worked in parallel tracks, absorbing the tactical information while Great Sage analyzed the broader implications. Case complexity assessment, multiple interrelated components, drug production, human trafficking, quirk exploitation, potential organized crime network. Subject overhaul displaying sophisticated operational security. Rescue mission success probability currently suboptimal without additional intelligence. After the briefing, Mirio approached Izuku with his characteristic smile, though it seemed tempered by the gravity of their assignment. First day and straight into the deep end, huh? He observed. Sir must really trust your capabilities. Or he's testing me, Izuku replied thoughtfully. Mirio's smile widened slightly. Perceptive. With Sir, it's usually both. He never wastes an opportunity to evaluate potential. They were assigned their first surveillance shift, monitoring a warehouse district where suspected drug transactions occurred. Dressed in civilian clothes with concealed communication devices, they positioned themselves at a cafe with excellent sight lines to the target area. So, Mirio began conversationally as they settled in with coffee. How's the famous first year handling all the attention after the sports festival in Stain? Social inquiry detected. Subject attempting to establish rapport while assessing psychological state. Recommend genuine but measured response. It's been uncomfortable, Izuku admitted. I never wanted attention for its own sake. Yet you declared I am here to the entire nation, Mirio noted with a knowing look. That was different. It wasn't about me, it was about reassurance, about signaling that the next generation of heroes is ready. Mirio studied him with surprising intensity. You know, Sir used his foresight on you. He never told me what he saw, but it changed his approach to your internship. This was new information. Changed how? He's investing more personally than usual. Nighteye typically maintains professional distance from interns. Observes, instructs, evaluates. With you, he's mentoring. Mirio's expression became thoughtful. The only other person I've seen him mentor that way was me, and that was after 2 years of proving myself. Interesting development. Subject Nighteye demonstrating a typical behavior pattern. Possible explanations. 1. Foresight revealed significant potential or critical future role. 2. Connection to All Might creating heightened interest. 3. Analytical capabilities recognized as uniquely valuable to agency methodology. Their conversation was interrupted by movement at the warehouse. 3 men in nondescript clothing, carrying metal briefcases. 2 o'clock, Izuku murmured, not looking directly at the subjects. Standard pattern, 3 individuals, likely couriers rather than principals. Agreed, Mirio replied casually, sipping his coffee. Notice the formation? Triangle defensive posture, professional training. Izuku's eyes tracked their movement while appearing to focus on his phone. Subject analysis, military or paramilitary background evident in movement patterns. Lead subject displaying concealed firearm beneath jacket. Secondary subjects quirk active based on subtle environmental interactions, possible detection/sensory quirks. The one in front has a gun, Izuku noted quietly. The others are quirk active, possibly sensors or lookouts. Mirio's eyebrows rose slightly. Good catch. How can you tell from this distance? Microbehaviors, Izuku explained, not mentioning Great Sage. The way the leader keeps his right arm slightly stiff to accommodate the holster. The other 2 are scanning in patterns, one visual, one seems to be focusing on environmental factors. Probably complementary quirks. They documented the encounter discreetly, Mirio with a concealed camera in his watch, Izuku through detailed mental notes that he would transcribe later. After 30 minutes, a black sedan with tinted windows arrived. A single figure emerged, tall, wearing an expensive suit and surgical gloves. That's not overhaul, Mirio whispered. Lieutenant, possibly. Definitely Hasaike based on the pin. The transaction was quick and professional. Briefcases exchanged hands. No words spoken that they could discern. Within minutes, all parties had departed. Standard dead drop protocol, Izuku observed. Minimal contact, maximum deniability. They continued their surveillance until evening, documenting 2 more similar exchanges. As they returned to the agency to report, Izuku mentally compiled everything he'd observed. Operational analysis, Hasaikai utilizing multi-layered distribution system with compartmentalized knowledge. Couriers unaware of product specifications. Military precision suggests former defense force recruitment. Recommendation: focus surveillance on supply chain origin rather than distribution endpoints. Sir Nighteye reviewed their findings with his characteristic intensity, occasionally nodding in approval at their observations. Good work, particularly noting the military bearing and quirk coordination, he acknowledged. Tomorrow, you'll follow the money trail. Mirio will brief you on the financial surveillance protocols. As Izuku prepared to leave, Nighteye added, Midoriya, a moment. Once they were alone, the former sidekick studied him with those penetrating yellow eyes. Your observational skills are impressive even by my standards. However, I notice you documenting less than you clearly observe. Alert. Subject has detected information retention. Recommend partial disclosure. I have an eidetic memory, Izuku explained, which wasn't entirely untrue. I can recall details later without needing to document everything in real time. Convenient, Nighteye remarked, clearly not entirely convinced. There's something else. The girl we believe is being held. We've designated her as Eri, based on fragmented intelligence. If you encounter any information about her, it takes absolute priority. Understood. Yes, sir. For the next 2 weeks, Izuku's life fell into an intense rhythm. Surveillance shifts with Mirio, data analysis at the agency, and rigorous quirk training during whatever hours remained. The investigation progressed steadily but slowly, each piece of intelligence forming a more complete picture of the Shai Hasaikai's operation. They tracked money transfers, documented meeting locations, identified key personnel. Throughout, Izuku's analytical abilities proved invaluable, spotting patterns and connections that might otherwise have been missed. You're like a human database, Mirio remarked one evening as they reviewed case files. The way you cross-reference information from different sources is incredible. Subject expressing admiration for analytical capabilities. Caution. Maintain explanation consistency. I've always been good with patterns, Izuku replied with a modest smile. It's just how my brain works. On the training front, his progress with One for All continued to accelerate. Under Nighteye's supervision, he developed new applications for his power, focused impact points, air pressure manipulation, enhanced sensory processing. Your quirk has versatility that you've barely begun to explore, Nighteye observed during one particularly grueling session. All Might typically applied his power broadly, large-scale impacts, impressive but inefficient. Your precision approach is far more interesting. By the end of the second week, Izuku could maintain 30% of One for All consistently without strain, ahead of the projected timeline. More importantly, he was learning to distribute the power asymmetrically across his body, channeling different percentages to different areas as needed. One for All mastery progress, 30% sustainable output achieved. Distribution control improving at 27% above projected rate. New capability unlocked, asymmetric application allowing for 40% in targeted limbs while maintaining 20% baseline elsewhere. The breakthrough in their investigation came unexpectedly during routine surveillance of a medical supply company believed to be a Hasaikai front. Izuku and Mirio were positioned in an apartment across from the facility documenting deliveries when a black luxury car arrived. From it emerged a figure they immediately recognized from briefing photos, Kai Chisaki himself, accompanied by 2 guards. It's overhaul, Mirio whispered, instantly alert. First confirmed sighting. Subject identified, Kai Chisaki/overhaul. Notable, no plague mask suggesting civilian interaction intended. Accompanied by 2 guards, one with gigantification quirk, one with apparent hardening capabilities. He's not wearing his mask, Izuku noted. This isn't an operation, it's something else. They watched as Chisaki entered the building, his posture relaxed but authoritative. 20 minutes later, he emerged, but not alone. Beside him walked a small figure with white-blue hair, wearing a plain dress and peculiar bandages around her arms and legs. Even from a distance, her discomfort was evident in her body language. The slight tremble, the downcast eyes, the way she flinched when Chisaki placed a hand on her shoulder. That's her, Mirio breathed, his perpetual smile nowhere to be seen. That's Eri. Izuku felt a cold fury building as he observed the girl's fearful demeanor. She's terrified of him. Subject, Eri, approximately 6 to 7 years old. Physical indicators of neglect and possible abuse evident in posture, movement patterns, and visible skin condition. Horn protrusion on forehead suggests mutation-type quirk. Priority target for protection confirmed. We need to report this immediately, Mirio stated, already reaching for his communicator. Wait, Izuku cautioned, still observing. Something's happening. Chisaki was speaking to the girl, gesturing toward the medical facility. Her response was barely perceptible, a tiny nod, her entire body rigid with fear. As they walked toward the entrance, Eri suddenly stumbled, falling to her knees. Shisaki's reaction was immediate and disturbing. He removed his glove and placed his bare hand on her arm. Even from their position, they could see the girl's expression of terror. He's threatening her with his quirk, Izuku realized, his knuckles white as he gripped the window frame. He can disassemble her with a touch. We need to intervene, Mirio said, his voice tight with controlled anger. Not yet, Izuku countered, though it pained him to say it. We don't have authorization, and we don't know what's inside that building. If we move prematurely, we could put her in more danger. It was perhaps the hardest decision Izuku had ever made, watching that frightened child being led back into the facility while they remained in position, documenting everything with clinical precision despite the emotional storm within. Emotional regulation required. Personal distress at 78% but must maintain operational focus. Primary mission, gather intelligence to ensure successful rescue. Premature intervention statistically likely to result in civilian casualty. When they reported their sighting to Nighteye, the agency erupted into controlled activity. The confirmation of Aries' existence and her direct connection to Overhaul changed the investigation's trajectory. This is what we needed, Nighteye declared, studying the photographs they'd captured. Visual confirmation of the girl and evidence of Overhaul's personal involvement. Sir, with respect, Izuku interjected, she's clearly being abused. How much more evidence do we need before we can act? Nighteye's expression remained impassive, but his eyes reflected a similar conflict. I understand your concern, Midoriya. Believe me, I share it. But rushing in without understanding the full scope of their operation could be disastrous. But consider this, Nighteye continued firmly. The Hasaikai compound is heavily guarded. Overhaul's quirk is lethal with a single touch. We don't know where within the compound they're keeping her, what failsafes they have in place, or how many enhanced individuals we'd be facing. His gaze softened slightly. I don't like it either. But our best chance of saving her, truly saving her, is to do this right. Tactical assessment. Nighteye's caution justified despite emotional discomfort. Probability of successful rescue without additional intelligence. Approximately 42%. With comprehensive preparation, 78%. Over the next few days, the investigation accelerated. Additional heroes were briefed, including Fat Gum and his intern Kirishima, whose hardening quirk was deemed valuable against Overhaul's disassembly ability. Izuku threw himself into the work with renewed determination, pushing himself to the limit both physically and mentally. Every piece of intelligence, every pattern identified, brought them one step closer to rescuing Eri. During a rare break, he found himself on the agency's rooftop, staring out at the city lights while processing everything they'd learned. Can't sleep either, huh? He turned to find Mirio approaching, his usual exuberance dimmed by the weight of their mission. Just thinking, Izuku replied. About Eri. Mirio nodded, leaning against the railing beside him. I keep seeing her face. That look of absolute fear. We're going to save her, Izuku stated with quiet certainty. I know, but will it be soon enough? What is she enduring while we gather intelligence and make plans? The question hung heavily between them, unanswerable yet unavoidable. Estimated timeline based on current investigation progression. Operation authorization in 7 to 10 days. Eri's condition based on observed physical state. Concerning but not immediately life-threatening. Ethical dilemma balanced against tactical reality. Sometimes, Izuku said finally, being a hero means making impossible choices. We want to rush in and save her now. Every instinct says that's what heroes should do. But if we fail because we weren't prepared, she might never get another chance, Mirio finished grimly. I know. Doesn't make it any easier to sleep at night. A comfortable silence fell between them, two heroes in training united by shared purpose and shared burden. Sir Nighteye's foresight, Izuku ventured after a moment. Has he used it to look at the operation's outcome? Mirio's expression tightened. He tried. Something's blocking it. He couldn't see clearly, which almost never happens. Anomalous information. Foresight quirk interference suggests powerful countermeasure or quirk interaction. Concerning development, what could block a perception quirk like that? Another quirk, possibly? Or some kind of technology? Mirio shrugged. Sir didn't elaborate, but I could tell it troubled him. The next morning brought an unexpected development. As Izuku arrived at the agency, he found an unusually tense atmosphere. Nighteye was conferring urgently with several pro-heroes, including Gran Torino, All Might's former teacher. Midoriya, Nighteye beckoned him over. There's been a complication. Gran Torino regarded him with sharp eyes. The boy looks just like him at that age, he muttered to Nighteye. Same determined expression. Subject, Gran Torino. Connection, former mentor to All Might, aware of one for all succession. Current involvement suggests escalation in case priority or connection to larger threat landscape. What's happened? Izuku asked. Nighteye activated a display showing security camera footage from what appeared to be a hospital corridor. The timestamp indicated it was from the previous night. This is from Muzutafu General's secure ward, Nighteye explained. Watch carefully. The footage showed 2 guards stationed outside a room. Suddenly, both men stiffened, then collapsed, apparently unconscious. A moment later, a misty portal appeared in the hallway, the same warp gate quirk Izuku recognized from the USJ incident. From the portal emerged a familiar figure, the hand-covered leader of the League of Villains, Shigaraki Tamura. He approached the door, disintegrated the lock with his quirk, and entered the room. 2 minutes later, he emerged with a third figure, a man in a hospital gown with burn scars covering his face and arms. That's the hero killer, Izuku realized with shock. Stain was being held there. Correct, Nighteye confirmed grimly. The League of Villains has broken him out of custody. But why? Stain despised them. He even killed one of their Nomu during the Hosu incident. Gran Torino snorted. Ideology takes a backseat to utility, kid. The League wants Stain's reputation, and Shigaraki is pragmatic enough to overlook previous differences. Strategic analysis. League of Villains demonstrating increasing sophistication. Stain acquisition serves multiple purposes. 1. Enhanced credibility with potential recruits. 2. Acquisition of skilled combatant. 3. Psychological impact on hero society. Threat level increasing. There's more, Nighteye continued. Intelligence suggests the League has made contact with the Shy Hasaikai, potentially seeking an alliance or access to their quirk-enhancing drugs. The implications hit Izuku like a physical blow. If the League gets access to drugs that can amplify quirks, precisely, Nighteye nodded. Our timeline has accelerated. We can no longer afford a protracted investigation. He turned to the assembled heroes. The raid on the Hasaikai compound has been authorized for 3 days from now. Full briefing tonight at 2000 hours. As the pros dispersed to prepare, Nighteye held Izuku back. You'll be participating in the operation alongside Mirio. Thank you, sir, Izuku replied, relief mixing with determination. Finally, they would act to save Eri. Don't thank me yet, Nighteye cautioned. This will be unlike anything you've faced before. The Hasaikai are cornered, which makes them desperate. Overhaul himself is extraordinarily dangerous, and now we have the complication of potential League involvement. Operation Risk Assessment significantly elevated compared to previous estimate. Multiple threat vectors, compressed planning timeline, uncertain opposing force composition. Personal preparedness evaluation adequate but suboptimal. I'll be ready, Izuku assured him. Despite the risk assessment ringing in his mind, Nighteye studied him intently. When I used my foresight on you during your first visit, I saw fragments of possibility, you standing victorious in impossible situations. But I also saw pain, sacrifice. He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. This operation, it aligns with those fragments. Be vigilant, Midoriya. Trust your analytical instincts, but don't become so fixated on the logical path that you miss the human element. The cryptic warning stayed with Izuku as he departed to prepare for the coming raid. In his apartment that evening, he methodically reviewed everything they knew about the Hasaikai, personnel, quirks, compound layout, potential trap locations. Sage, comprehensive mission preparation protocol. Protocol initiated. Analyzing all available data on target location, subjects, and quirks. Formulating optimal approach strategies and contingencies. Recommendation. Rest cycle required before operation. Current fatigue levels will impair performance by estimated 12%. Despite Great Sage's advice, sleep proved elusive. Every time Izuku closed his eyes, he saw Eri's frightened face, imagined what she might be enduring while they prepared. The knowledge that the League of Villains was potentially entering the equation only heightened his anxiety. Finally, he reached for his phone and dialed a number he rarely called this late. Young Midoriya? All Might's voice came through, tired but alert. Is something wrong? I'm sorry to call so late, Izuku began. It's about the Hasaikai operation. Ah, yes. Gran Torino briefed me. A rescue mission with significant complications. Izuku hesitated, then confessed, I'm uncertain. Not about participating, but about my readiness. If the League is involved, if All for One is behind this somehow. You're afraid of failing. All Might stated simply. Of not being enough. Yes, good. Fear acknowledges reality. Only fools feel no fear before battle. All Might's voice strengthened. But remember this, you are not the same person who came to me dreaming of being a hero. You've grown, adapted, surpassed expectations at every turn. Emotional support detected. Mentor providing psychological reinforcement. Effectiveness high. What if my analysis is wrong? What if I miss something critical? Then you adapt, All Might replied firmly. No plan survives contact with the enemy. Your greatest strength isn't just your analytical mind or one for all, it's your ability to adjust when circumstances change. The conversation continued, All Might offering practical advice and reassurance in equal measure. By the time they disconnected, Izuku felt more centered, more prepared for what was to come. The final briefing the next evening was comprehensive. Nighteye outlined the operation with military precision, team compositions, entry points, communication protocols, contingency plans. The raid would involve multiple pro-hero agencies coordinated under the direction of the Hero Commission. Our primary objective is the safe recovery of the girl, Eri, Nighteye emphasized. Secondary objectives include apprehending Overhaul and securing evidence of the quirk drug operation. He highlighted Izuku and Mirio specifically. Based on your familiarity with the case and your complementary quirks, you two will form the vanguard of the rescue team supported by Eraserhead for quirk suppression. Aizawa nodded from his position against the wall, his expression characteristically serious. Team composition analysis. Logical formation. Mirio's permeation allows for unprecedented access. Your analytical capabilities provide tactical adaptation. Eraserhead's erasure counters Overhaul's disassembly quirk. As the heroes dispersed to make final preparations, Izuku approached Aizawa. Sensei, I didn't expect you to be involved in this operation. When a student is participating in a high-risk mission involving a child's welfare, I make it my business to be involved, Aizawa replied dryly. Besides, my quirk is particularly effective against Overhaul's type. He fixed Izuku with his penetrating gaze. You've been pushing yourself hard during this internship. Are you at full capacity? Yes, Sensei. I can maintain 30% consistently now, with bursts up to 40 in controlled situations. Aizawa nodded, seemingly satisfied. Good. You'll need every advantage tomorrow. The night before the operation, Izuku performed his final preparations with methodical care, checking his costume for damage, ensuring his support items were functional, reviewing the compound layout one last time. As he finally lay down to sleep, his thoughts turned to Eri, the small, frightened girl whose rescue had become so personally important to him. He hadn't even spoken to her, yet he felt a profound responsibility to ensure her safety. Pre-mission psychological state, focused determination with underlying emotional investment. Recommendation: channel emotional motivation while maintaining analytical detachment during operation. Tomorrow, he whispered to the darkness, we bring her home. Morning arrived with unnatural clarity, colors seemed sharper, sounds more distinct, as if his senses were already heightened in anticipation of what was to come. Izuku dressed in his hero costume, now modified with additional reinforcement and utility features developed during his internship. The strike teams gathered at a police facility near the Hasaikai compound. The atmosphere was tense but controlled, pros checking equipment, reviewing assignments, preparing mentally for the coming conflict. Mirio approached wearing his Lemillion costume and displaying none of his usual lightheartedness. Ready for this? As ready as possible, Izuku replied, adjusting his gloves. You've been thinking about her too, haven't you? Every minute, Mirio admitted. I keep wondering what kind of hero I am if I've known about her situation for weeks and done nothing. We haven't done nothing, Izuku countered. We've been preparing to save her properly, permanently. Mirio nodded, some of his characteristic determination returning to his eyes. You're right. Today we end this. Sir Nighteye called for attention as the final preparations were completed. His expression was more severe than Izuku had ever seen it, his yellow eyes intense behind his glasses. This operation carries significant risk, he stated without preamble. The Hasaikai are cornered and desperate. Expect maximum resistance. But remember, his voice softened slightly, there is a child depending on us today. No matter what happens, Eri's safety is paramount. He surveyed the assembled heroes, his gaze lingering briefly on Izuku and Mirio. Move out, and may luck be with us. As they approached the Hasaikai compound in unmarked vehicles, Izuku felt one for all humming beneath his skin, ready to be called upon. Great Sage was cycling through scenarios, calculating probabilities, preparing for any contingency. Yet beneath the analytical preparation, a simple truth remained clear in his mind. Today, they would save a frightened little girl from monsters. Everything else was secondary. The raid was about to begin. Dawn broke over the shy Hasaikai compound, painting its traditional Japanese architecture in somber shades of orange and gold. From their position in the police command vehicle, Izuku studied the building's exterior through high-powered binoculars, mentally mapping entry points against the blueprints they'd obtained. Final communications check. Sir Nighteye instructed through their secure channel. All teams report. Each unit confirmed readiness, perimeter containment, main assault, rear security, and the specialized rescue team that included Izuku, Mirio, and Aizawa. Operation commencement imminent. Threat analysis, high probability of 8 to 12 quirk-enhanced individuals within compound. Structural concerns, traditional construction with unknown modern reinforcements. Multiple subterranean levels confirmed by thermal imaging. Remember, Nighteye continued, we have confirmation that Eri is being held on the third sublevel. Our intelligence suggests this is also where they're producing the quirk-altering drugs. The rescue team will proceed directly to this location once the main force creates an entry point. Izuku glanced at Mirio, finding his senior's expression uncharacteristically grim. No smiles today, only focused determination. Commence operation, Nighteye ordered. The assault began with precision and overwhelming force. Fatgum and Ryukyu, in her dragon form, led the frontal assault, breaching the main gate with devastating impact. Simultaneously, Nighteye's team moved to secure secondary entrances, preventing escape. Initial breach successful. Resistance response time, 7.4 seconds. Faster than projected, suggesting enhanced alert status or advance warning. Indeed, the Hasaikai's response was immediate and coordinated. Guards emerged from multiple points, their quirks activating in tandem. Barriers forming, projectiles launching, the ground itself becoming unstable beneath the hero's feet. They were expecting us, Aizawa observed tersely. Izuku analyzed the defensive pattern, noting the strategic placement of quirk users. It's too coordinated for a standard security response. They knew we were coming. Nevertheless, the pro-heroes pushed forward, overwhelming the initial defenses through superior numbers and experience. As planned, this created the opening for the rescue team to slip inside, using the main assault as a distraction. Mirio led the way, his permeation quirk allowing him to scout ahead through walls and floors. Clear path to the first sublevel entrance, he reported. 3 guards, all quirk active. Aizawa moved with practiced efficiency, his capture weapon unfurling as he rounded the corner. Before the guards could fully activate their quirks, his erasure had neutralized their abilities, leaving them vulnerable to swift incapacitation. Combat efficiency, optimal. Current progress 12% ahead of projected timeline. Caution, reduced resistance potentially indicating concentration of forces at lower levels. They descended quickly, encountering sporadic resistance that was efficiently neutralized by their combination of quirks, Mirio's permeation providing unprecedented mobility, Aizawa's erasure neutralizing threats, and Izuku's analytical application of one for all delivering precision strikes where needed. By the time they reached the entrance to the second sublevel, Izuku's concern was growing. The opposition had been skilled but not overwhelming, nothing like the force they'd expected from a major Yakuza family protecting its most valuable asset. This feels wrong, he murmured as they secured the stairwell. The resistance is too light. I agree, Aizawa replied, scanning the area with his enhanced goggles. They're either retreating to a defensive position around the girl, or evacuating her entirely, Izuku finished grimly. Mirio phased his head through the floor, returning a moment later with a troubled expression. Second sublevel has been largely abandoned. Equipment removed, documents gone. They're destroying evidence. Tactical assessment. Operation compromised. Hasaikai implementing evacuation protocol rather than defense. Priority shift required from methodical clearing to rapid advance to target location. We need to move faster, Izuku urged. If they're evacuating, Eri could already be gone. Aizawa nodded. Agreed. Standard clearing protocol suspended. We move directly to the third sublevel. Togata, take point. Mirio didn't hesitate, phasing through the floor while Izuku and Aizawa used a more conventional route, a reinforced door that Izuku quickly breached with a controlled 35% smash. The second sublevel showed clear signs of hasty evacuation, empty equipment racks, shredded documents, abandoned monitoring stations. They moved through it quickly, encountering only token resistance from rearguard Yakuza who seemed more focused on delaying them than actually fighting. Team Nighteye to all units. Aizawa communicated through their secure channel. Evidence of evacuation in progress. Priority shift to containment of all exit points. Repeat, contain all possible exits. As they approached the entrance to the final sublevel, Mirio rejoined them, materializing through a wall with urgency written across his features. They're still below, he reported tensely. Overhaul and at least 4 enhanced guards. And Eri, she's there, but... He hesitated, his expression darkening. She's connected to some kind of machinery. They're doing something to her. A cold fury settled in Izuku's chest. Then we end this now. Combat preparation. Optimizing one for all distribution. 30% base level with capacity for 45% burst to specific muscle groups. Adrenaline levels elevated but within functional parameters. Togata, your quirk gives you the best chance to reach the girl immediately, Aizawa instructed. Midoriya and I will engage Overhaul and his guards to create your opening. Priority is getting Eri away from whatever device they have her connected to. Mirio nodded, his usual smile replaced by grim determination. Understood. On your signal. The final door separating them from the third sublevel was heavily reinforced. Steel core with electronic locks and what appeared to be quark-reactive material in its construction. Analyzing the lock would take too long, Izuku observed. Permission to breach directly? Aizawa nodded. Do it. Izuku channeled 40% of one for all into his legs and right arm, calculating the precise point of structural weakness. With a focused movement, he delivered a devastating strike to the door's center mass, the impact reverberating through the corridor as metal buckled and tore. They surged through the opening into a scene straight from a nightmare. The third sublevel had been converted into a clinical laboratory, sterile white surfaces, advanced medical equipment, and at its center, a horrifying apparatus. Eri was suspended within a transparent chamber, multiple tubes connected to her small body, extracting blood and other fluids. Her eyes were open but unfocused, her expression one of resigned suffering rather than active pain. Around her stood Overhaul and 4 guards, all wearing plague doctor masks. The Yakuza leader turned calmly at their entrance, his golden eyes visible through his mask's eye holes, showing neither surprise nor concern. Right on schedule, he remarked almost casually. Though a bit faster than I calculated. Subject, Kai Chisaki/Overhaul. Displaying no signs of alarm despite breach. Confidence suggests prepared countermeasures. Current posture indicates readiness to activate quirk, hands unloved, stance balanced for immediate action. Release the girl and surrender, Aizawa demanded, his capture weapon unfurling as his quirk activated, eyes glowing red behind his goggles. The compound is surrounded. There's no escape. Overhaul tilted his head slightly. Eraserhead, your quirk is certainly troublesome. He glanced at the other heroes. Lemillion and, the analytical first year. Deku, isn't it? Sir Nighteye chose his team well. His calm recognition of them was unsettling. Further confirmation that their operation had been compromised. This doesn't have to become violent, Overhaul continued. The girl is unharmed. We're simply conducting necessary procedures. Necessary? Mirio's voice contained barely controlled fury. You're harvesting a child. I prefer to think of it as utilizing a unique resource, Overhaul replied with clinical detachment. Her quirk is extraordinary, rewind, the ability to reverse biological states. The applications are endless. Subject Eri quirk analysis update. Rewind, biological temporal manipulation. Explains drug creation methodology. Subjects exposed to her blood or derived compounds experience temporary quirk enhancement or suppression due to biological state manipulation. Izuku's eyes darted between Overhaul, the guards, and Eri's containment apparatus, formulating approach vectors and calculating timing. Sage containment device analysis. Analysis complete. Device appears designed for controlled biological extraction. Primary vulnerabilities: power supply located at rear junction, hydraulic lines beneath flooring, manual release valve at upper right quadrant. Warning: sudden disconnection could cause subject trauma. Recommended approach: power termination followed by controlled release. You won't leave here with her, Izuku stated, channeling one for all throughout his body in preparation. And you won't continue using her as a laboratory specimen. Overhaul sighed as if disappointed. So it's violence then? Pity. He raised his hand, and the guards moved with practiced coordination, each activating distinct quirks. One grew to massive size, another generated crystalline projectiles from his skin, the third transformed his arms into blade-like appendages, and the fourth created what appeared to be a disorienting mist. Now Mirio, Aizawa shouted, activating his quirk to neutralize as many opponents as possible. Mirio didn't hesitate, his body becoming intangible as he phased directly through the floor, bypassing the guards entirely. Simultaneously, Izuku launched himself toward the containment apparatus, targeting the power supply Great Sage had identified. Overhaul moved with surprising speed, placing his hand on the ground. Instantly, the floor began to disassemble and reconstruct in violent, unpredictable patterns. Warning: environment destabilizing. Quirk effect analysis. Matter reconstruction occurring at molecular level. Extreme danger. Contact with effect would cause immediate cellular disassembly. Izuku adjusted midair, using 45% of one for all in his legs to change direction and avoid the reconstructing floor. He landed on a relatively stable section, immediately having to dodge crystal projectiles from one of the guards. Aizawa was engaged with 2 opponents simultaneously, his erasure quirk cycling between targets as he maneuvered with veteran skill. Midoriya, the girl, he called, redirecting a blade arm strike with his capture weapon. Below the chaos, Mirio had phased up through the floor directly beside Eri's containment unit. He solidified, immediately locating and activating the emergency release mechanism Great Sage had identified. The transparent chamber hissed open, its extraction tubes automatically disengaging from Eri's small body. The girl's eyes widened in confusion and fear as Mirio gently lifted her. "It's okay," he reassured her, his voice warm despite the battle raging around them. "We're heroes. We've come to save you." Overhaul's reaction was immediate and violent. "And oh!" he shouted, his composed demeanor shattering. "She belongs to me." He slammed both hands to the ground, causing a massive reconstruction wave that forced everyone to take defensive positions. The laboratory began to transform horrifically. Walls melding into floors, equipment disassembling and reforming as weapons, the entire environment becoming an extension of Overhaul's quirk. Critical threat, environment manipulation at unprecedented scale. Subject demonstrating quirk mastery beyond previous intelligence estimates. Evacuation priority supersedes engagement. "Mirio, get Eri out," Izuku called, leaping over a rapidly forming spike wall. "We'll cover you." Mirio nodded, cradling the girl protectively as he prepared to phase through the ceiling. "Hold on tight, Eri. We're leaving this place." Before he could activate his quirk, one of the guards, the mist generator, created a dense fog that rapidly filled the chamber. Not merely visual obstruction, the mist seemed to affect quirk activation itself, creating a dampening field. Quirk analysis. Fog appears to contain quirk suppression properties. Possible application of Eri-derived compounds. Effect is area-based rather than targeted. Mirio's expression showed momentary surprise as his permeation failed to activate. In that crucial second of vulnerability, Overhaul struck. The Yakuza leader lunged forward with frightening speed, his bare hand extended toward Mirio and Eri. Aizawa attempted to erase his quirk, but the mist obscured his line of sight, rendering his erasure ineffective. Time seemed to slow as Izuku processed the unfolding disaster. Mirio, unable to phase, could only turn to shield Eri with his body. Overhaul's hand descended, its touch promising molecular disassembly. Intercept trajectory calculated. Required velocity, 40 meters per second. One for all output necessary, 50% minimum. Warning, exceeds current safe threshold. Sage, authorize emergency override. 50% full body. Override authorized. Caution. Significant muscular damage probable. In a burst of green lightning, Izuku launched himself between Overhaul and his targets. The world narrowed to a single moment of perfect clarity. Overhaul's surprised eyes meeting his as Izuku's fist, wreathed in emerald energy, connected with the villain's chest. The impact was catastrophic. Overhaul flew backward, crashing through his own reconstructed barriers and into the laboratory wall with enough force to crack the reinforced concrete. The shockwave disrupted the mist, temporarily clearing the air. "Go!" Izuku shouted to Mirio, feeling the strain of 50% output burning through his muscles. "Get her out now." Mirio didn't waste the opportunity. With his quirk functioning again, he phased upward through the ceiling, Eri clutched securely against him. Overhaul struggled to his feet, blood trickling from beneath his mask. "You dare!" he rasped, fury distorting his voice. "She's the cornerstone of my perfect world." "She's a child," Izuku countered, maintaining his combat stance despite the pain flaring through his overexerted body. "Not a resource. Not a tool. A human being." Damage assessment. Micro tears throughout major muscle groups. Estimated functionality reduction, 22%. Sustainable 1 for all output now limited to 35% maximum. Aizawa moved to Izuku's side, having temporarily incapacitated 2 guards. "Midoriya, status?" "Functional," Izuku replied tersely. "Mirio got Eri out. We need to contain Overhaul and extract." The Yakuza leader laughed, a cold, unsettling sound. "You think this ends with the girl's escape? My work is already dispersing throughout society. The samples we've collected, the formulas we've perfected, they'll reshape Quirk society from its foundations." He removed his damaged mask, revealing sharp features contorted with fanatical intensity. "Quirks are a disease that infected humanity. My drugs are the first step toward the cure." "Your drugs are killing people," Izuku stated. "The enhancement formula causes quirk decay after repeated use. You're not curing anything. You're profiting from destruction." Overhaul's eyes narrowed. A temporary setback in the research. "With more time and more samples from the girl, I could perfect the formula." "That time is over," Aizawa declared. "Your operation ends today." The remaining guards regrouped around Overhaul, forming a defensive perimeter. The Yakuza leader placed his hands on the floor once more, but this time with different intent. The ground beneath them began to shake violently. Warning, structural integrity compromised. Subject appears to be destabilizing entire sublevel. Collapse imminent. If I can't have her, Overhaul snarled, then I'll bury you all and start again elsewhere. The Shai Hasaikai is bigger than this compound. The ceiling began to crack, dust and debris raining down as support columns disintegrated under Overhaul's quirk. We need to move, Aizawa urged. The entire level is coming down. Izuku calculated their options rapidly. He's creating a diversion to escape. We can't let him get away. Not with the knowledge of how to use Ares' quirk. Tactical recommendation. Neutralize primary threat before structural failure reaches critical point. Estimated window, 47 seconds. Without waiting for Aizawa's response, Izuku charged forward, channeling 35% of One for All despite the protest of his damaged muscles. He weaved through the disintegrating terrain with calculated precision, evading the guards' attacks while maintaining his trajectory toward Overhaul. The Yakuza leader's eyes widened slightly at Izuku's direct approach. He placed his hand on a falling chunk of ceiling, transforming it into a barrage of sharp projectiles that flew toward Izuku with deadly intent. Debris trajectory analyzed. Evasion pattern calculated. Izuku moved through the deadly field with fluid grace, each step and turn precisely calculated to avoid impact while maintaining momentum. As he closed the distance, Overhaul resorted to direct confrontation, his hands glowing with the activation of his quirk. "You're just a student," Overhaul spat, "playing at being a hero while the world crumbles." "No," Izuku replied calmly. "I'm the one who's going to stop you." Their exchange became a deadly dance of precision and calculation. Overhaul's every touch promised molecular destruction, while Izuku's enhanced strength could shatter bone with a single strike. They moved through the collapsing laboratory, each seeking the decisive advantage. Combat analysis. Subject demonstrating exceptional combat training despite quirk reliance. Pattern suggests martial arts background with emphasis on Aikido principles. Vulnerability identified, 0.4-second recovery window after major quirk activation. Izuku exploited this pattern, deliberately triggering a large-scale reconstruction by feinting toward Overhaul's left. As expected, the villain responded with an area effect, disassembling and reassembling a section of floor. In the fractional recovery window that followed, Izuku struck a perfectly timed Delaware smash air pressure attack that caught Overhaul in his momentary vulnerability. The compressed air blast hit with surgical precision, targeting nerve clusters in the villain's shoulder and temporarily paralyzing his dominant arm. Overhaul staggered backward, his quirk activation disrupted. Before he could recover, Aizawa's capture weapons snaked around him, binding his arms to his sides while the underground hero's erasure quirk neutralized his molecular manipulation ability. "Kaichisaki," Aizawa stated formally. "You're under arrest for kidnapping, child endangerment, illegal quirk research, drug manufacturing, and attempted murder of pro-heroes." Overhaul's expression contorted with rage. "You fools! You have no idea what forces you're interfering with. The girl is the key to everything. The only thing she's key to," Izuku replied, "is her own future. A future without you in it." With Overhaul secured, they turned their attention to escaping the collapsing structure. The remaining guards had either fled or been buried in the destruction their leader had caused. Structural analysis, primary support compromised. Complete collapse estimated within 28 seconds. Optimal escape route, northwest stairwell, 64% integrity remaining. This way, Izuku directed, guiding them toward the least damaged exit route while Aizawa maintained his quirk on Overhaul to prevent any last-minute escape attempts. They ascended through crumbling corridors and buckling floors, the entire compound groaning around them as Overhaul's final act of destruction played out. Behind them, the laboratory level collapsed entirely, burying the evidence of his horrific experiments beneath tons of rubble. As they emerged into the compound's main level, they found the battle largely concluded. Pro-heroes had overwhelmed the Hasaikai forces, arresting those who surrendered and containing those who continued to resist. Eraserhead to command. Aizawa communicated through their secure channel. Primary target secured. Requesting status on the package. Package is safe and secure, came Nighteye's measured response. Medical team is attending to her now. Excellent work. Relief washed through Izuku at the confirmation of Ares' safety. Despite the pain radiating through his overexerted body, a profound sense of accomplishment settled over him. They had done it, rescued the girl, and captured the villain responsible for her suffering. As police officers took custody of Overhaul, securing him with specialized quirk-suppressing restraints, the Yakuza leader fixed Izuku with a final, hate-filled stare. "This isn't over," he promised quietly. "The forces reshaping this world are beyond your comprehension, hero student." Maybe Izuku acknowledged. But today they lost. Outside the compound, medical teams were treating injured heroes and police officers. Ambulances stood ready to transport the more seriously wounded to hospitals. Among the organized chaos, Izuku spotted Mirio sitting beside a medical transport vehicle, speaking gently to a small figure wrapped in a shock blanket. Eri looked different in the daylight. Smaller, more fragile, her red eyes wide with confusion and lingering fear. The horn protruding from her forehead seemed to have shrunk compared to when they first saw her, now barely visible beneath her pale blue hair. Subject: Eri. Physical condition: malnourished, showing signs of long-term neglect and medical experimentation. Psychological indicators suggest severe trauma. Horn size variation potentially connected to emotional state or quirk activation level. As Izuku approached, Eri shrank back slightly, pressing closer to Mirio. "It's okay," Mirio reassured her with his characteristic warmth. "This is my friend Midoriya. He helped save you too." Izuku knelt down to her eye level, careful to maintain a non-threatening distance. "Hello, Eri. I'm glad you're safe now." The girl studied him with those haunting red eyes, a lifetime of fear and pain evident in her gaze. Are you heroes?" she asked in a voice so small it was barely audible. "Yes," Izuku replied gently. "We're heroes, like in the books?" Her question carried a fragile hope that squeezed Izuku's heart. "Just like in the books," he confirmed. A medical officer approached, clipboard in hand. "We need to transport her to the secure medical facility now. Full examination and protective custody protocols are in effect." Eri's eyes widened in fear at the mention of examination, her small body tensing visibly. Subject displaying acute anxiety response to medical terminology. Associated trauma trigger identified. "It's different from before," Izuku explained quickly, recognizing her fear. "These doctors only want to help you feel better. No one is going to hurt you or take anything from you." Tears welled in the girl's eyes. "Promise." "I promise," Izuku stated firmly. "And heroes always keep their promises." Mirio added his own reassurance. "We'll visit you too, if that's okay. Maybe bring some books about heroes." For the first time, the faintest ghost of a smile flickered across Eri's face. I would like that." As the medical team gently led Eri to the ambulance, Mirio turned to Izuku, his usual smile returning but tempered with something more serious. "We did it," he said simply. "We did," Izuku agreed. "Though I suspect the aftermath will be complicated." "Always is," Mirio shrugged. "But for now, let's just appreciate that she's safe." The cleanup and processing continued throughout the day. Evidence was cataloged, prisoners transferred, injuries treated. Izuku received medical attention for his muscle strain, the result of pushing one for all beyond his current limits, and provided a detailed statement to both police and Hero Commission representatives. By evening, most heroes had been debriefed and released. Izuku found Sir Nighteye standing alone on a hill overlooking the now secured compound, his tall figure silhouetted against the setting sun. "Sir," Izuku acknowledged as he approached. Nighteye didn't turn immediately, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "Your performance today was exemplary, Midoriya, particularly your handling of overhaul." "Thank you, sir." However, Nighteye continued, finally turning to face him, "I note that you exceeded your previously stated quirk limitations during the confrontation. Quite significantly. Caution. Subject probing quirk capabilities. Recommend partial disclosure with logical explanation." "The situation was critical," Izuku explained. "I made a calculated decision to exceed my normal limits to protect Mirio and Eri. At considerable physical cost," Nighteye observed. "The medical report indicates significant muscular strain consistent with quirk overuse. A price worth paying." Nighteye studied him thoughtfully. "Indeed. I'm finding that your capacity for calculated self-sacrifice is one of your more compelling traits, Midoriya." He adjusted his glasses, his yellow eyes reflecting the sunset. "When I used my foresight on you during our first meeting, I saw fragments of possibility, you standing at crossroads where logic and emotion collide. Today was one such crossroad, and did I choose correctly?" Izuku asked. A rare, slight smile crossed Nighteye's face. "I believe you did. Which is why I'm recommending your provisional license be upgraded to include independent patrol privileges. Supervised, of course, but with greater autonomy than standard first-year status." The recommendation was unexpected and significant, a vote of confidence from one of the most analytical heroes in the profession. "Thank you, sir. I'll continue to earn that trust." As they walked back toward the command center, Nighteye added, "There's one more thing you should know. During the operation, we intercepted communications suggesting League of Villains observation of our activities." Izuku's attention sharpened. "They were watching the raid?" "From a distance, yes. Which means they're aware of Eri and her quirk's potential." Nighteye's expression darkened. "The security protocols around her will need to be exceptional." Strategic implication. League of Villains now possesses knowledge of Rewind quirk and its applications. Probability of future attempt to acquire subject Eri or her quirk derivatives. 76%. They'll try to get to her, Izuku concluded grimly. Almost certainly. Or attempt to recreate Overhaul's research using samples they may have already acquired. Nighteye sighed. The girl represents a power that many would kill to control. The ability to manipulate biological states has implications far beyond quirk enhancement or suppression. The weight of this realization settled heavily on Izuku's shoulders. Eri's rescue wasn't the end of her story. It was merely the opening of a new chapter, one where her safety would remain a constant concern. "We'll protect her," he stated with quiet determination. "Whatever it takes." "Yes," Nighteye agreed. "We will." The days following the raid were filled with debriefs, medical follow-ups, and the beginning of what promised to be a lengthy legal process against the shy Hasaikai. Izuku divided his time between these official duties and recovery from his injuries, which proved less severe than initially feared thanks to Recovery Girl's intervention. A week after the operation, he received permission to visit Eri at the secure medical facility where she was being treated. He found her in a cheerful room decorated with colorful illustrations of heroes, looking physically improved but still carrying the haunted expression of a child who had known only cruelty. "Hello, Eri," he greeted warmly. "I brought something for you." From his bag, he produced a carefully wrapped package, a collection of illustrated hero stories he had selected specifically for her. Eri's eyes widened as she accepted the gift with trembling hands. "For me? Really?" "Really," Izuku confirmed, his heart aching at her disbelief that someone would give her a present without expecting something in return. Subject displaying classic signs of long-term abuse and neglect. Psychological recovery projection, extended time frame required, positive attachment figures critical to progress. As Eri carefully opened the package, treating the wrapping paper as if it were precious, Izuku made a silent promise to himself to be one of those positive figures in her life, to help her understand that not all power is used to hurt. That heroes existed not just in books but in the real world. "Thank you," she whispered, holding the books against her chest like a shield. Can you read one to me?" "Of course," Izuku replied, settling into the chair beside her bed. "I'd be happy to." As he began reading the tale of a young hero overcoming adversity to save others, he couldn't help but draw parallels to his own journey, and to the journey this small, traumatized child was just beginning. Both of them had been given power they never asked for. Both faced futures shaped by forces larger than themselves. But unlike his path, hers had begun in darkness. His mission, part of his mission, would be to help guide her toward the light. The true aftermath of the Hasaikai raid would unfold in the weeks and months to come. But in this moment, reading a hero story to a child who had never known kindness, Izuku felt the profound weight and honor of the title he was working toward. Hero, protector, symbol. One day at a time, one step at a time, he would continue moving forward on that path, guided by great sage's analysis and one for all's power, but driven ultimately by the simple human desire to make the world better than he found it. For Eri, for All Might, for everyone. The UA campus hummed with renewed energy as students returned from their extended internships. 2 months had passed since the Hasaikai raid, bringing autumn leaves and cooler temperatures to the grounds. For Izuku, the return to academic routine felt strange after his intensive work with Sir Nighteye's agency. Midoriya. The enthusiastic greeting came from Kirishima, who bounded across the common room with his characteristic energy. "Man, it's been forever. How was your extended internship?" "Mine with Fat Gum was beyond manly." Subject, Ejiro Kirishima. Demonstrating enhanced muscle definition and improved posture indicative of significant physical training. Confidence levels elevated compared to baseline. "It was intense," Izuku replied with a smile. "Looks like yours was productive too. You have no idea. Fat Gum had me breaking through walls with my bare hands. My hardening is way more durable now." Kirishima flexed demonstratively. "But dude, everyone's talking about your raid. Taking down a whole Yakuza family and rescuing that little girl? That's next level hero work." Izuku's expression sobered. "It wasn't just me. It was a coordinated operation with multiple agencies." "Still," Kirishima insisted, "you were on the front lines. The news called you the calculating hero after they saw the footage of you predicting Overhaul's moves. Media analysis, nicknamed Calculating Hero, appearing in 73% of recent coverage. Public perception shifting toward technical/strategic hero archetype rather than pure power classification." Before Izuku could respond, more classmates arrived. Uraraka, Ida, Azui, and Todoroki, all returning from their respective internships. "Deku!" Uraraka exclaimed, her expression brightening. "You're back." Their reunion was warm but brief, interrupted by Aizawa's arrival for homeroom. The underground hero looked as exhausted as ever, but there was a new sharpness to his gaze as it swept over the assembled students. "Welcome back," he began without preamble. Your extended internships have concluded, but your hero education continues. This semester brings new challenges designed to push your quirk development and tactical thinking to new levels. He activated the classroom display, showing a training schedule more intensive than anything they'd seen before. The villain landscape is evolving rapidly, Aizawa continued. The League of Villains has expanded its membership following Stain's prison break. New quirk-enhancing drugs derived from Hasaikai research have appeared on the black market. The Hero Commission has authorized accelerated training protocols in response. Educational parameter shift detected. Training intensity increased by approximately 42%. Curriculum now includes enhanced combat scenarios, civilian extraction exercises, and coordinated team operations against multiple opponents. Additionally, Aizawa added, his eyes lingering briefly on Izuku, certain students have received specialized curriculum adjustments based on their internship performances. These are not promotions but recognitions of demonstrated capabilities that require tailored development. The implications weren't lost on the class. Some students had distinguished themselves during the internships, earning enhanced training opportunities. Izuku noted similar glances toward Todoroki, Kirishima, and surprisingly, Bakugo. After class, Izuku found himself approached by All Might in his diminished form, the former symbol of peace looking frilier than ever. "Young Midoriya," he greeted with a tired smile. "A word, if you have time?" They retreated to All Might's private office, a space that seemed to dwarf his current physique even more than before. "Your progress during the internship was remarkable," All Might began once they were seated. "Sir Nighteye sent me regular reports. 35% sustainable output, with controlled bursts to 50% under extreme circumstances. The 50% was an emergency measure," Izuku clarified. "It caused significant muscle damage that took weeks to fully heal." All Might nodded. "As expected at your current development stage. Nevertheless, you're advancing faster than any previous one for all user, including myself. Comparative analysis, current one for all mastery timeline approximately 38% accelerated compared to Toshinori Yagi's historical progression." Recovery Girl mentioned something similar, Izuku noted. "She suggested it might be due to the interaction between One for All and my analytical abilities." A thoughtful expression crossed All Might's gaunt face. "Your analytical quirk. Yes, that's the official explanation, isn't it?" The careful phrasing caused Izuku to pause. "Official explanation?" All Might studied him for a long moment. "Young Midoriya, we've known each other for over a year now. In that time, I've observed your analytical abilities with growing curiosity." He leaned forward slightly. "Your analysis goes beyond extraordinary observation or deduction. It's too precise, too immediate. During the Hasaikai raid, you calculated structural weaknesses in a collapsing building within seconds. You predicted Overhaul's attack patterns after minimal exposure. Warning, subject demonstrating awareness of Great Sage's capabilities. Recommend partial disclosure to maintain trust." Izuku felt a momentary unease. He had never explicitly discussed Great Sage with anyone, not even All Might. It was his most closely guarded secret, the internal voice that had guided him since childhood, analyzing, calculating, optimizing his every move. "It's complicated," he admitted finally. "My analytical ability isn't exactly a standard quirk." "I suspected as much," All Might replied. "Is it something you feel comfortable discussing?" Izuku considered the question carefully. If there was anyone he could trust with the secret, it was All Might. And perhaps keeping Great Sage entirely hidden was becoming untenable as his hero career advanced. "I call it Great Sage," he began hesitantly. "It's like an internal analysis engine. It processes information, calculates probabilities, identifies patterns all faster than conscious thought. I've had it as long as I can remember, even when I believed I was quirkless." All Might's expression remained thoughtful rather than surprised. "It speaks to you? Provides information, in a way. Not with a voice exactly, but with data analysis. I see it as text, like a heads-up display only I can perceive." Disclosure assessment, current explanation 87% accurate while maintaining appropriate boundaries. Relationship trust index remains high. "Fascinating," All Might murmured. "And you've never registered this as your quirk?" Izuku shook his head. "By the time I understood what it was, I was already known as quirkless. And then, well, then I met you and everything changed." All Might nodded slowly. "This explains much about your unique approach to heroism. The perfect synthesis of analytical precision and raw power. Are you disappointed that I kept this from you?" Izuku asked, uncertain. "Not at all," All Might assured him. "We all have aspects of ourselves we keep private. I'm honored you felt comfortable sharing it now." Relief washed through Izuku. "I've never told anyone. Not even my mother knows the full extent of it." "Your secret is safe with me," All Might promised. "Though I suspect Sir Nighteye has his suspicions as well." He's particularly attuned to analytical capabilities. The conversation shifted to their training schedule for the semester. All Might explained that with his time limit now reduced to barely a minute of transformation, their sessions would focus more on technique and strategy than raw power development. The torch is passing, young Midoriya, he stated with quiet resignation. Faster than either of us anticipated. The Hero Commission has requested I begin preparing for a public announcement of my retirement within the next few months. Timeline update. Symbol of peace official transition now accelerated. Public announcement projected within 90 to 120 days. Societal impact assessment. Significant security perception destabilization likely without adequate succession plan. So soon? Izuku asked, though the evidence of All Might's decline had been increasingly obvious. My body can no longer sustain the power, even briefly. And the symbol must remain strong. Appearing weak or faltering would do more harm than a clean transition. All Might's sunken eyes held a mixture of acceptance and determination. Which means your development takes on even greater urgency. As Izuku left All Might's office, the weight of responsibility settled more heavily on his shoulders. The timeline was accelerating. All Might's retirement, the League's expansion, the emerging threat of quirk-enhancing drugs in villain hands. Everything was converging faster than anticipated. Priority reassessment. One for all mastery timeline requires further optimization. Current sustainable output, 35%. Target before All Might's retirement announcement, minimum 60% with controlled application. Timeline compressed to 90 days. Challenging but achievable with protocol adjustments. The following days brought a return to UA's rhythm, though with noticeable changes. Classes were more intensive, training more grueling, and the faculty more demanding than before. The shadow of rising villain activity hung over everything, creating a sense of urgency that permeated the campus. During combat training, Izuku found himself paired against Bakugo for the first time since the sports festival. The explosive teen had changed subtly during his internship, still aggressive and competitive, but with a new focus to his approach, a greater strategic awareness. Don't hold back, Deku, Bakugo stated as they faced each other in the training ground. I want to see what you learned during your fancy extended internship. Subject: Katsuki Bakugo. Combat stance indicates technical refinement. Explosion quirk control appears significantly enhanced based on hand positioning. Threat assessment: Hi, I won't if you won't, Kakin, Izuku replied, channeling 30% of one for all throughout his body, green lightning crackling around him. What followed was a display of skill and power that left their classmates watching in awe. Bakugo's explosions had become more precise, more controlled, capable of pinpoint accuracy or devastating area effects as the situation demanded. His movements showed professional combat training, eliminating many of the openings Izuku had exploited in their previous encounters. For his part, Izuku demonstrated the fruits of his internship: calculated movements, precise application of force, and an uncanny ability to predict and counter Bakugo's increasingly complex attack patterns. He's reading Bakugo like an open book, Kaminari remarked from the sidelines. No, Todoroki corrected, his heterochromatic eyes tracking the exchange with intense focus. He's calculating probabilities, predicting the most likely attacks based on previous patterns. It's not mind reading, it's analysis at an extraordinary level. Their match ended in a technical draw when All Might, supervising the session, called time. Both combatants were breathing heavily but relatively uninjured, a testament to their improved control. Your movements are different, Bakugo observed as they walked off the field. More efficient. Less wasted energy. Coming from Bakugo, this was practically effusive praise. Your explosions have better focus, Izuku returned. And your combat form has improved significantly. A hint of a smirk crossed Bakugo's face. Best genist was a pain in the ass, but the bastard knows his stuff. Interpersonal development. Subject: Bakugo showing continued evolution from antagonistic rival to respectful competitor. Professional acknowledgement replacing personal animosity. Later that afternoon, Izuku received a message from Sir Nighteye requesting his presence at the agency for a special briefing. When he arrived, he found not only Nighteye and Miria waiting, but also Principal Nizu and a representative from the Hero Commission. Thank you for coming, Midoriya, Nighteye greeted formally. This concerns Eri. Izuku felt an immediate concern. Is she all right? Physically, yes, Nighteye assured him. Her recovery continues under medical supervision. However, there have been incidents with her quirk. Principal Nizu took over the explanation, his intelligent eyes serious despite his cuddly appearance. Eri's quirk, a rewind, is proving unstable. She has limited control over its activation, particularly during moments of emotional distress. The Hero Commission representative, a stern-faced woman in a tailored suit, added, 3 medical staff have experienced temporary quirk suppression after contact with her during anxiety episodes. In one case, a doctor's age was temporarily reversed by approximately 2 years. Subject: Eri, quirk, rewind. New data indicates involuntary activation triggered by emotional distress. Control parameters currently undefined. Potential danger classification: significant. What does this mean for her? Izuku asked, already calculating implications. It means, Nighteye stated carefully, that she requires specialized care beyond what the medical facility can provide. She needs an environment that can both support her emotional recovery and safely contain any quirk manifestations. Principal Nizu nodded. Which is why we're proposing her transfer to UA's custody. Specifically, to our newly established Quirk Research and Development Division, under my direct supervision. The proposal was unexpected but logical. UA had the facilities, the security, and the expertise to handle even the most dangerous quirks. More importantly, it had heroes Eri already trusted: Mirio, Izuku, and by extension, their teachers. There's more, Nighteye continued. Eri has specifically requested to see you, Midoriya. She's formed an attachment to both you and Togata as her rescuers. Mirio smiled softly at this. We've been visiting her regularly, reading stories, bringing small gifts. She's starting to understand what normal kindness looks like. Her psychological evaluation suggests that maintaining these positive attachments is critical to her recovery, the commission representative added. If she's transferred to UA, we would request that you both continue regular interaction with her as part of her treatment protocol. Care assessment. Subject: Eri demonstrating healthy attachment formation despite trauma history. Continuity of trusted figures critical to ongoing psychological stabilization. Recommendation: accept involvement in recovery process. Of course, Izuku agreed without hesitation. I'd be honored to help in any way I can. The meeting concluded with logistics and security protocols for Eri's transfer, scheduled for the following week. As Izuku prepared to leave, Nighteye held him back for a private word. Overhaul was formally charged yesterday, the former sidekick informed him. Among the evidence recovered was extensive research on quirk manipulation, including theoretical approaches to permanent quirk transfer or removal. Izuku's attention sharpened. Similar to All for One's abilities? Inspired by them, perhaps? Overhaul seemed obsessed with understanding the genetic mechanisms of quirk transfer. Nighteye adjusted his glasses. During interrogation, he made a comment that concerned me. He claimed that forces beyond hero society were already implementing what he had only theorized. Strategic implication. Potential connection between Overhaul's research and All for One's operations. Probability of coordinated knowledge development: 63% and rising with new evidence. You think he was connected to All for One? Izuku asked quietly. Not directly, but I believe his research may have been monitored or even guided by interests connected to All for One's network. Nighteye's expression was grave. The rabbit hole goes deeper than we initially thought, Midoriya. The information added another layer of complexity to an already complex situation. If Overhaul's quirk research was somehow connected to All for One's operations, then the implications for Eri became even more concerning. Her rewind ability would be invaluable to anyone seeking to manipulate quirks at a fundamental level. We'll need to be extra vigilant with her security, Izuku noted. Indeed, which is partly why UA is the logical choice for her placement. Nighteye's penetrating gaze met Izuku's. There's something else you should know. All Might informed me of your additional analytical capabilities. Alert, subject referencing Great Sage. Maintain consistent explanation. He mentioned that. Izuku acknowledged carefully. I hope you understand why I've kept it private. Of course, though it explains much about your exceptional performance during the internship. A rare, slight smile crossed Nighteye's face. In any case, your unique combination of abilities makes you particularly well-suited to understanding Eri's situation. Your analytical mind can help decode her quirk's mechanics while your empathetic nature provides the emotional support she needs. The following week brought Eri's transfer to UA. The process was handled with meticulous care, specialized transport, security details, medical supervision throughout. When she arrived at the campus, Izuku and Mirio were waiting to welcome her. The girl looked better than when they'd rescued her, her cheeks less hollow, her eyes holding more life. The horn on her forehead remained small, suggesting her quirk was currently inactive. She wore a simple dress and carried a backpack that Izuku recognized as one he and Mirio had given her, filled with books and small comfort items. Mirio, Deku, she called when she saw them, a genuine smile brightening her face, perhaps the most heartening sign of her recovery. Subject: emotional state assessment. Significant improvement from baseline. Trust indicators present in body language and vocal tone. Attachment bonds forming appropriately despite trauma history. Hey there, little listener. Mirio greeted cheerfully, kneeling to her level. Welcome to UA. This is where we learn to be heroes. It's a school, Eri asked, looking around with wide-eyed curiosity. The best hero school in Japan, Izuku confirmed, smiling warmly. And now you get to stay here too, in a special area just for you. Principal Nizu approached, his animated expression gentle as he introduced himself to Eri. Hello, young one. I'm Principal Nizu. I'll be overseeing your stay with us. Eri studied the unusual principal with fascination rather than fear. Are you a mouse? Or a bear? An excellent question. Nizu replied delightedly. The answer is yes, and also no, and possibly something else entirely. His playful response drew a small giggle from Eri, a sound so precious that Izuku felt his heart constrict. How long had it been since this child had laughed freely? Eri's living quarters had been specially prepared in the secure section of UA's support department. The space was designed to be both comfortable and safe, quirk-dampening technology embedded in the walls, medical monitoring systems disguised as ordinary fixtures, and every comfort a child could need. This is all for me? Eri asked in disbelief as she was shown her room, complete with colorful bedding, shelves of books, and a selection of toys. All for you, Mirio confirmed. Every kid deserves their own special space. As Eri explored her new home, Aizawa pulled Izuku aside for a brief conversation. You'll have scheduled visits with her 3 times weekly, the homeroom teacher explained. Recovery Girl and I will be monitoring her quirk manifestations. If anything unusual occurs during your visits, report it immediately. Supervision protocol assessment, appropriate safety measures balanced with psychological care requirements. Aizawa's erasure quirk provides essential emergency containment capability for rewind manifestations. Understood, Sensei. Has there been any progress in helping her control the quirk? Aizawa shook his head. Minimal. Her quirk activation appears tied to emotional states she can't yet regulate. It's a challenging combination, a powerful quirk linked to the underdeveloped emotional control centers of a traumatized child. The implications were sobering. Eri's quirk could rewind biological states, potentially erasing quirks, reversing injuries, even rejuvenating living tissue. Such power in an unstable form represented both incredible potential and significant risk. We'll figure it out, Izuku said with quiet determination. She deserves a chance at a normal life. Aizawa's expression softened slightly. Your optimism is admirable, Midoriya. Just remember that progress with cases like hers is measured in small steps, not dramatic breakthroughs. Over the next few weeks, a new routine emerged. Izuku balanced increasingly intensive classes and training with his scheduled visits to Eri. The girl began to open up more, sharing small details about her life before overhaul. Fragments of memory about a mother who had abandoned her out of fear of her quirk, about being called a curse, about believing she didn't deserve kindness. Each revelation broke Izuku's heart while strengthening his resolve to help her heal. During one visit, as they were coloring together in her room, Eri asked a question that caught him off guard. Deku, what's it like to control your quirk? Izuku paused, considering how to explain in terms a child could understand. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. At first, it's wobbly and scary, and you might fall down. But with practice, it becomes natural, something your body remembers how to do without thinking too hard. She looked down at her small hands. My quirk hurts people. Chisaki said, it's because I'm cursed. Eri, look at me, Izuku said gently, waiting until her red eyes met his. There is no such thing as a cursed quirk. Only quirks that need special understanding. Your power isn't good or bad, it's just part of you, like your eyes or your smile. Subject requires foundational quirk identity reconstruction. Current self-perception dangerously negative due to overhaul's psychological conditioning. Recommended approach, consistent positive reframing combined with age-appropriate explanations of quirk mechanics. But what if I can't control it? Her voice trembled. What if I hurt you or Mirio? That's why we're here at UA, to help you learn, step by step. And even if accidents happen, we have people like Aizawa-sensei who can keep everyone safe while you practice. He showed her his own hand, channeling a tiny amount of one for all so that green lightning sparkled faintly across his fingers. See this? When I first got my quirk, I broke my bones every time I used it. I had to learn control just like you will. The demonstration seemed to fascinate her. It's pretty. Like green stars. Exactly like stars. Izuku agreed with a smile. And someday, you'll learn to make your quirk do exactly what you want it to do. No more and no less. The conversation seemed to ease something in Eri's mind. Later that week, she agreed to her first controlled quirk assessment session with Recovery Girl and Principal Nizu, a small but significant step forward. Meanwhile, beyond the protective walls of UA, the world continued to evolve in concerning ways. Reports of villains using quirk-enhancing drugs increased, creating incidents of destructive power beyond the user's normal capabilities. The League of Villains maintained an ominous silence following Stain's breakout, suggesting preparation rather than inactivity. Most worrying was All Might's accelerating decline. His time limit had decreased to mere seconds of transformation, and even those brief moments left him exhausted afterward. The public had begun to notice his decreased appearances, spawning speculation and concern across hero forums and news outlets. Public sentiment analysis, anxiety regarding All Might's status increasing by approximately 4.2% weekly. Crime rates showing correlative rise of 2.7% in areas with decreased symbol of peace activity. Social stability indicators trending downward. During one particularly grueling training session, All Might collapsed after just 15 seconds in his muscle form, coughing blood alarmingly. All Might! Izuku rushed to his mentor's side, supporting him as he struggled to catch his breath. "I'm all right, young Midoriya," the former symbol of peace wheezed unconvincingly. "Just pushed a bit too far." Recovery Girl, who now supervised all their training sessions, approached with a disapproving expression. "Foolish as always, Toshinori. I told you 3 transformations per day maximum, and you've already done 4. The commission requested a public appearance," All Might explained weakly. "A villain incident in Shinjuku. I couldn't refuse. Subject health assessment. Critical deterioration accelerating. Current trajectory suggests complete inability to maintain muscle form within 30 to 45 days. Public retirement announcement may become unavoidable sooner than planned. You need to prioritize the succession plan over public appearances," Recovery Girl chided, administering a specialized treatment that seemed to ease All Might's breathing. "The announcement of your retirement needs to coincide with the introduction of a new symbol, or at least the promise of one." Her meaningful glance toward Izuku didn't go unnoticed. "That's precisely what we're working toward," All Might replied, slowly regaining his composure. "Young Midoriya's progress has been exceptional. He can now maintain 35% consistently with controlled application up to 45% in combat scenarios." Recovery Girl turned her professional assessment to Izuku. "And the physical toll? Manageable," Izuku reported. "The muscular reinforcement regimen you prescribed has significantly reduced strain injuries. I can maintain 40% for approximately 7 minutes before experiencing notable fatigue. Quirk progression assessment. Current trajectory exceeds original projection by 23%. One for All integration continues to demonstrate unusual efficiency compared to historical data. Hypothesis: Great Sage's analytical processing optimizing energy distribution at cellular level. Well, at least one of you listens to medical advice," Recovery Girl sighed. "Nevertheless, I'm ordering a 3-day rest period for both of you. No transformations, Toshinori. And no quirk usage above 20% for you, young man." Though frustrated by the interruption to their training, Izuku recognized the wisdom in Recovery Girl's directive. The next day, he used the unexpected free time to visit Eri, finding her engaged in what appeared to be a quirk control exercise with Principal Nizu. Several apples sat on a table before her, each at a different stage of ripeness. Under Nizu's gentle guidance, she was attempting to focus her rewind on just one apple, reversing it to an earlier state without affecting the others. "Ah, Midoriya," Nizu greeted cheerfully. "Perfect timing. We're experimenting with focused application." Eri's face lit up at Izuku's arrival, though her expression quickly returned to concentration. "I'm trying to make just this apple go back to being green," she explained, pointing to a ripe red one. "But it's hard." "Focus is always challenging," Izuku encouraged. "Try imagining your quirk as a small spotlight that can shine on just one thing at a time." Quirk control methodology. Visualization techniques often effective for spatial quirk focusing. Subjects' age-appropriate cognitive framework requires concrete rather than abstract instruction. Eri closed her eyes, her small face scrunching with effort. The horn on her forehead grew slightly as her quirk activated. A faint glow surrounded her hands as she reached toward the targeted apple. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, gradually, the apple's red skin began to shift, patches of green appearing as if the ripening process was reversing. However, the apple beside it also began to change, though more slowly. "You're doing it!" Izuku exclaimed. "Look, Eri." The girl opened her eyes, momentarily losing concentration, and with it, her quirk control. The glow intensified suddenly, enveloping not just the apples but spreading toward Nizu, who calmly activated a quirk-dampening field from a device at his wrist. The glow dissipated immediately, leaving Eri looking crestfallen. "I failed again." "Not at all," Nizu corrected enthusiastically. You successfully reversed the target apple by approximately 32% before the effect spread. That's progress. Subject demonstrating improved quirk directional control compared to baseline. Duration limited to 4.7 seconds but showing consistent extension with each practice session. Notable, horn size appears directly correlated to quirk output intensity. He's right, Izuku added, kneeling beside her chair. Learning quirk control is like building a muscle. It gets stronger with each attempt, even when it doesn't work perfectly. Eri seemed somewhat reassured, though fatigue was evident in her small face. These control exercises clearly took a significant toll on her still recovering body. I think that's enough practice for today, Nizu declared, noting her exhaustion. Excellent work, Eri-chan. Why don't you show Midoriya the picture book Recovery Girl brought you? As Eri eagerly retrieved the book, Nizu spoke quietly to Izuku. Her progress is remarkable considering her circumstances. The quirk itself is fascinating, true temporal manipulation of biological states, possibly the only one of its kind in recorded history. Have you determined its full capabilities? Izuku asked. Not yet. Our testing remains necessarily limited due to ethical considerations. Nizu's intelligent eyes betrayed his scientific curiosity despite his caution. Theoretically, she could reverse any biological process. Aging, healing, quirk development, perhaps even death if caught soon enough. The applications for medicine alone are revolutionary. Quirk analysis update. Rewind theoretical applications expand beyond previously projected parameters. Strategic value assessment. Incalculable. Protection priority. Maximum, which makes her a target for those who would exploit such power, Izuku concluded grimly. Precisely. The Hero Commission has classified her existence as Level 5 secure information. Only those directly involved in her care know she's at UA. Knees aside. However, secrets of this magnitude rarely remain contained indefinitely. The principal's words proved prophetic sooner than anyone anticipated. 2 days later, as Izuku was completing a tactical exercise with his classmates, an emergency alert sounded throughout the campus. And that's a wrap on Part 2, ChronoCrew Legends. We saw more of Izuku's evolution, the mystery behind his power, and a few chess pieces already moving behind the scenes. And trust me, this timeline? It's only getting deeper from here. If you enjoyed the journey, smash that like button. Let's hit 100 for the next episode. Drop your theories in the comments below. What's Sage thinking next? And of course, subscribe and become a true ChronoCrew legend. Until next time, ride the timeline, rewrite the story.